Chapter 1484, The Battle That Lasts 10,000 Years. Chapter 1484, The Battle That Lasts 10,000 Years. Putai, Putai, turns out he's Putai. Montesi looked at the dark area above the ancient demon continent. Putai wore a ferocious face, his eyes blood-red. A bloodthirsty aura emitted from his body, creating the infinite blood sea of the netherworld. Even though they were too far away, she could still perceive his aura. Hero from the White Bone clan pulled a stern face. Yeah, it's unbelievable. You know Putai? Shinhe was surprised. Putai's the young chief of the Devouring clan. He used to be an extremely outstanding warrior among the juniors in the sea domain of nihility. People expected him to break through to the territory ancestor realm within 10,000 years. When Putai debuted, his fame was immeasurable. Yerberg, Lingmei, and even Meiji weren't as talented as him. Montesi threw a glance toward Meiji. Meiji nodded, her charming face worried. Putai used to be very prominent. But hundreds of years ago, the Devouring clan announced that he had fallen into bedevilment while cultivating. He was gone. At that time, Putai was at the third sky of Immortal realm, which was one realm higher than me. Many clans felt happy over the other's calamity. I did feel relief as well. Turns out he wasn't dead because of bedevilment. They had sent him to desolate territory in order to stay low-key. No wonder why the Devouring clan didn't look gloomy or mourned over his death. When I got the news, I vaguely thought that Putai was still alive. Since he hadn't shown up in the sea domain of nihility for hundreds of years, we slowly believed it was a true story. Meiji told them about Putai's profile. Putai came here with his soul. His soul had reached the third sky of Immortal realm, but he had to cultivate again with the new body. Although he looked like he is only at the second sky of Immortal realm, he can use the power of a third sky of Immortal realm expert. She reminded Shinhe and Frederick about Putai's intimidation in the past, telling them that he was stronger than what they thought. No wonder why Putai could kill my brother and swallow the two ring spirits. Xinshan and the ring spirit couldn't resist a soul at the third sky of Immortal realm. Shinhe remembered the sad stories, feeling dejected. Yeah, Putai isn't ordinary. But Yin isn't any worse. You're confused because you are concerned. Montesi beamed, tiptoeing to pat Meiji's shoulder, which made her look funny. Silly little girl, Yin has the devouring Power Upanishad and the Power Upanishad symbol tower. Even I can't see through him. He's not ordinary either. You're too worried. They're going to have a fair and equal match. Shinhe, Frederick, and Adele saw her move, not knowing whether to cry or smile. She was around 2 meters tall, a little cutie. On the other side, Meiji was a sexy grown-up. When she patted Meiji's shoulder to calm her, it looked really awkward. Yeah, you're right, Granny. I'm just too nervous. Meiji pulled herself together, smiling embarrassedly. She slowly calmed herself down. Granny? Shinhe and the others gawked as if their eyeballs were about to fall out. They eyed Montesi and felt that their cognition was distorted. Stay silent and watch the amazing game. Hero sounded excited. People then focused back on the fight. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. So many shadows came from different corners of this star area. Battleships, war chariots, and flying carriages gathered like black clouds. Putai's roaring and howling thundered, reverberating around the star area. He secretly ordered his subordinate forces to come and prepare for the bloody war. At this moment, tens of thousands of forces that had submitted to the bloodthirsty force and worshipped Putai as their new master had arrived. Those people came from the forces under the Imperial Dark Tribe, the Immortal Demon Nomads, and even the forces Ming Hao used to control in the dark. The experts of many forces were subdued during Putai's 100 years here. They worshipped the absolute beginning creature Devour and became Putai's loyal servants. Tens of thousands of massive battleships and war chariots shot fast. The Bone Flying Bird war chariots looked so real as they zoomed over from the big life stars. Millions of warriors stood on the giant battleships with super powerful auras. They anchored around the ancient demon continent like clouds of locusts. They defended the ancient demon continent tightly, protecting Devour while it was eating the ancient demon continent. It was all because Devour was their master now. Xianhe, Frederick, and Adele paled when they saw the familiar faces, their eyes sparkling with ruthlessness. They used to be their fellows, their loyal troopers, but now they were the traitors. Looking at them, Xianhe, Adele, and the others understood the God Lord's begrudging bitterness. The sour feeling on getting rejected was like the everlasting strong wine in their hearts that they couldn't accept. Well played. It has just been 100 years, and you have gathered so many forces. In terms of ruling, you're better than me. Shi Yin hovered inside the rapid torrent of asteroids as he continually gathered energy. Just like Pu Tai, he wasn't hurried to attack. Shi Yin watched him roar and howl, sending the call for war, as well as so many incoming battleships. If you dare to come here, I'm sure you're well prepared as well. Blood lingered in Pu Tai's eyes. His line of sight zoomed across the immense space to where Xianhe and Frederick were hiding. Although they're concealing the aura, I can feel them. Apparently, it's not that you didn't prepare anything. Master, Master, Master. The warriors at profound realms on the majestic battleships around the ancient demon continent bowed toward Pu Tai respectfully, humbly waiting for his order. Pu Tai curled his lips, pointing at Shi Yin while laughing. He's Shi Yin, bloodthirsty's heir. He's also the master Ming Hao, Xianhe, and Frederick have acknowledged. Today, Ming Hao's confined. He will be killed at any second. Xianhe and Frederick are around as well, probably. I ask you to come and see who is the real master. Snorting, Pu Tai thundered. This battle was predestined right when I came to desolate territory. No one is allowed to interfere with this battle between us. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The experts on the battleships included the elders of the Immortal Demon Clan, the eccentric lords of the Imperial Dark Tribe, and the experts that used to follow Ming Hao. They all had a vague mark on their foreheads, which resembled a black hole. It was Devour's crest. Within 100 years while Shi Yin and the others were away, those people had been subjugated by Pu Tai, becoming Devour's most loyal servants. Come fight me. Inside the asteroid current, Shi Yan's imposing aura rose. He laughed crazily as billions of starlight beams were shelling on those massive asteroids. The rocks become sparkling and transparent, with electric beams moving around. Their energy surged and emitted as if they wouldn't drain even after 1 billion years. Get out here. Pu Tai's eyes were crimson, his face frantic. He rose his hands toward the dark abyss. It seemed like he had a hand in the void that could pull the whole sky down. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The earth-destroying explosions arose from the dark abyss. A massive blood sea emerged from the darkness. Follow the blood sea were the islands, each of which had terrifying energy fluctuations. Those energies belonged to the 8 great, evil power Upanishads, including soul control, death, corrosion, dark, chaos, destruction, despair, and corpse chi. The islands of the great 8 inheritances in the blood sea forbidden land. Xianhe screamed ear-piercingly. Frederick also discolored in fright. Indeed, he has fused with the ring spirit and obtained the entire blood sea in his hands. Turns out the 8 islands can work magically like this. The Soul Control Island, the Death Island, the Corrosion Island, the Dark Island, the Chaos Island, the Destruction Island, the Despair Island, and the Corpse Chi Island were drawn from the darkness, hovering above Pu Tai's head. Everybody looked and found an endless sea of blood bobbing above his head. The 8 islands formed a circle in the blood sea. Boom! Another island flew out of the blood sea. It was ink black, spinning like the massive mouth of a demon that could swallow the entire world. It was the Devouring Island. The Devouring Island flew out the last, landing in the center of the circle created by the 8 islands, implanting on Pu Tai's crown of the head. Swoosh! Swoosh! The negative auras were so thick, and the brutal, bloodthirsty energy was endless like a rapid river that had run for billions of years and would never stop. All burst out of Pu Tai's body, entering the Devouring Island on his head. Almost at the same time, The 8 islands of the 8 inheritances had shot out 8 dazzling, magical rivers, connecting to the devouring island. They seemed to become a single entity, which was the way to perfectly combine the devouring power Upanishad and the other 8 power Upanishads. They looked like an ancient formation from the absolute beginning era, which could trigger the evilest power in this world. Putai's aura rose continually, and the red hue in his eyes became thicker. The blood membrane appeared on his skin, making a set of natural armor. At this moment, under the Blood Sea and the 9 islands, Putai had shown the power that had greatly surpassed Shi Yan's. If the latter didn't have anything to counter, this battle couldn't last even a moment. Putai would hit him hard and kill him shortly. Inside the turbulent asteroid current, the surging energy from the asteroids was like a firefly compared to the moon that was Putai's energy. They weren't at the same level anyway. Putai's formidable, really formidable. Gay from the White Bone clan closed his eyes to sense for a while, talking heavily. Although he's at the second sky or immortal realm, that tremendous energy. I'm afraid even a third sky of immortal realm experts can't manage that. It's lucky that both Shi Yan and Putai haven't reached the territory ancestor realm yet. Otherwise, their battle would shatter this star area entirely. Montesi and Hero also looked solemn. They were startled when they saw Putai's power. They were regretful for ignoring the battle earlier on. Putai was much more powerful than they had estimated. After hundreds of years, Putai had progressed much faster than they had imagined. Sigma_Sigma_ Happy New Year, Smiley. https://patreon.com/sigma https://paypal me/sigmasama https://streamlabs.com/sigma_7 Chapter 1485 You're Not Qualified. Chapter 1485 You're Not Qualified. Understandable. Putai sneered, turning to face the current of asteroids Shi Yan had stopped. The brilliant, diamond-like asteroids suddenly emitted a bright, silver-colored light. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Inside thousands of massive asteroids, furious light rays created by space power Upanishad were shot out everywhere. Numerous twinkling starlight dots mingled with the silver light. Altogether, they created a downpour like a shattering galaxy from the 9 tiers of the sky. Everybody had a terrible feeling as if the world was about to shatter and the void about to corrupt. The power of those asteroids was so formidable, as it was the combination of star power Upanishad and space power Upanishad. Putai was attacked by billions of bright silver rays. His face changed immediately. Can't believe he has merged the star and space power Upanishads. Worthy of the heir he had chosen. Too bad, you're too weak. As everybody looked at them, Putai suddenly split into 2 persons, then 4, and finally 8. In just a second, there were 8 Putais. The life magnetic field, God power, and soul aura of the 8 Putais were the same. They jumped, scattering into the 8 islands. Instantaneously, the 8 islands of the 8 evil power Upanishads turned into white bone islands with an endless evilness. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The blood sea generated a blood-red light which seeped into the 8 islands. Putai's bodies enlarged like evil demons, and the entire world echoed his arrogant voice. You have the star and space power Upanishads, but I have all 8 power Upanishads fused into one. Even Bloodthirsty hadn't reached this level before. How can you defeat me? Putai launched his 8 power Upanishad, including soul control, death, corrosion, dark, chaos, destruction, despair, and corpse chi at the same time. From the devouring island, his energy bombarded the current of asteroids. Numerous souls showed their sharp fangs while the thick death energy created a bloody hand seal. The corrosion power Upanishad melted everything. The dark power Upanishad cut off the soul consciousness. The chaos power Upanishad distorted space. The destruction power Upanishad destroyed everything. The despair power Upanishad made people hopeless and helpless, and the corpse chi power Upanishad covered them with a dark coldness. The 8 islands of the 8 power Upanishad spun like a crazy wheel inside the flow of asteroids, crushing all the rocks in their way. The bright silver space light column pierced through the 8 islands, but it caused no harm. The devouring island in the center of the 8 islands turned into a dark whirlpool, continually revolving like the massive mouth of a brutal ghost that was choosing a prey, waiting for the best chance to attack. Boom, boom, boom. The asteroids exploded, turning into dust. Yan's sea of asteroids shrunk rapidly to the point of disappearing soon. Staying inside the sea of asteroids, his eyes were crimson as he watched the 8 islands controlled by Pu-Tai crushing his asteroids. Pu-Tai's might was beyond his imagination, and Yan had to try his best. The Deep Soul Control Power Upanishad allowed Pu-Tai to divide his soul into 8, which went to the 8 islands to launch 8 power Upanishads at the same time. Yan had a terrible feeling that he was against the 8 great chiefs all alone. Crack, crack. Parts of a massive blood shield appeared and connected in front of him, with fine, wiggling blood drawings. At this moment, the blood shield was transforming into a blood cloud. A bloody light shot out of the shield, and the blood-dripping sword emerged. The bloody sword and shield were Bloodthirsty's weapons. Before Bloodthirsty had reached the territory ancestor realm, they were his 2 fierce and useful weapons. Yan inherited the blood sword and the blood shield. He had gradually discovered the power of the weapons that could cooperate with his power Upanishads to increase the lethality of the weapons. The blood clouds drifted toward Pu-Tai, and the evil eyes on the blood sword opened. A band of bloody light shot out of the clouds, slashing on one of the 8 Pu-Tais. Ha ha ha. Pu-Tai laughed crazily. He opened his arms as if he wanted to pull the whole world into his embrace. Unexpectedly, his body then swallowed the blood light and the blood shield. The blood vein ring on his finger sparkled as if it was calling something. The blood clouds and the blood sword shook hard in the void, as if they were tied to some invisible ropes. They didn't listen to Yan, flying toward Pu-Tai. Just like that, the sword and the shield disappeared into Pu-Tai's body. Right after that, 8 Pu-Tais had fierce armor lingering on their bodies. The armor fitted perfectly on him, making his power double. At this moment, Pu-Tai was too intimidating in Xian He's and Frederick's eyes. Looking at him, they thought that they were seeing Bloodthirsty. It was like Bloodthirsty was using Pu-Tai's bodies to come to this world one more time. The high-pitched, ear-piercing noises like broken strings boomed in Yan's brain, aching his nerves. He had totally lost the connection with the bloody sword and shield. The 2 powerful weapons of Bloodthirsty he had controlled were snatched from him, becoming parts of Pu-Tai. Mwahaha, I'm the one who told you about the power of the blood shield and the blood sword. Do you think I didn't do anything to them? Pu-Tai laughed contentedly. I got 3 parts of the blood vein ring's ring spirit. I know things better than you. Do you know why I wanted Wetterson's body? Because Wetterson's body and Bloodthirsty's body aren't much different in nature. You've killed him and implanted Bloodthirsty's remains in his body. It's similar to recovering Bloodthirsty's body. My body now is similar to Bloodthirsty. How can you defeat me when you use Bloodthirsty's weapon? Although they've left him for 10,000 years, they still remember his aura. I, the one with the blood vein ring, have all of its secrets. Isn't it too simple? Pu-Tai mocked Yan for his stupidity. Then, the blood sword appeared in one of the 8 Pu-Tai's hand. It was the Pu-Tai on the Death Island, the blood sword in his hand hacked, and a band of blood light, seeming like the 10,000 meters long river of death rolled toward the asteroid current. Hundreds of massive asteroids exploded. The star and space energies combined couldn't resist this sharp attack. This blood sword and shield aren't the absolute beginning divine weapons. However, Bloodthirsty had quenched them for years. For warriors with the 8 evil power Upanishads, it can increase their power incredibly. It's bad that I didn't tell you this. You will never be able to use their true powers. Pu-Tai swung the blood sword. The blood bands of light were as sharp as space sabers, cutting many asteroids into pieces. At this moment, Pu-Tai had the upper hand as he continually destroyed the sea of asteroids, consuming Yan's power. After dozens of seconds, the sea of asteroids Yan had gathered now had only one left. Yan sat on that asteroid, his face cold as he saw his asteroids turning into an area of gray mist and smoke. His eyes were extremely and unprecedentedly stern as he said in a low-pitched voice, "You're bold. Looking at you, I can imagine how formidable Bloodthirsty was in that year. No wonder why Bloodthirsty was invincible in desolate territory. Really fierce." "It's good that you understand," Putai laughed. "Don't say that I'm hunting you down. I'm going to give you a chance to live. As long as you give me your life seal and the second soul that has fused with Desolate, I won't swallow you all. As long as you worship me as your master and become our devouring clan servant, I can assure you're not going to be obliterated." Putai looked at the members of different races around him. "Look at them. They are our servants, but they live very well. They will have a bright future too. Desolate territory will be one of our devouring clan's territories. They will be our vassals. It's not something shameful to stay in the shade of the biggest clan in this world. Think about it." Listening to Putai's arrogant voice, the faces of the experts from other territories like Hero and Montesi were grimaced. Montesi sneered, her eyes so cold. "This arrogant rascal is exaggerating even more than his old man. Seems like once the devouring clan conquers desolate territory, they will ignite the great racial war in sea domain of Nihility. The devouring clan has aimed at the entire sea domain of Nihility. Desolate territory is just a step to accumulate energy." Hero from the White Bone clan nodded, his face malicious. "Putai's too formidable. He's overwhelming Shi Yin. I think Shi Yin can hardly resist him." Emperor Sea Shark frowned. He didn't know Shi Yin, so he only guessed from the given circumstances. He thought that Shi Yin wasn't Putai's worthy opponent. Putai got the right time, the right place, and the right support. While he was impersonating the ring spirit, he had lived with Shi Yin for many years. He had witnessed all the battles Shi Yin had joined and become stronger. He knew about the latter's hidden powers and means. Know yourself, know your enemy, and you will win every battle. Putai had been patient and subtle for many years. He understood Shi Yin clearly, but Shi Yin barely knew him. Right at the beginning of this battle, Putai had more chances to win. Montesi and Hero had a stern face even though they had assumed that Shi Yin could resist Putai. But now their hopes were fading with each passing moment. "Serve you as my master?" Shi Yin sat cross-legged on his last asteroid while smirking. "You're not qualified." "Ha ha ha." Putai laughed crazily while shaking his head. His 8 clones controlled the 8 islands, forming an octagonal formation and pressing on. A terrifying intimidation that came from the very dawn of the world and could bury the space came from the 8 islands. Such a formidable pressing force had discolored even the experts at Heroes and Montesi's levels. The devouring island in the center turned into a soul vortex, like a massive mouth facing Shi Yin. With that, an enormous soul-sucking force was generated. Shi Yin's soul altar, under the effect of the sucking force, slowly arose from his body. He couldn't move to stop the other from taking his soul altar out of his body. The islands of the 8 great power Upanishads have opened the profound, forbidden technique. Let alone you. Even the real territory ancestor can't move in this situation. Wait for me to swallow and refine you. Be obedient. Ha ha, I've yearned for the space, star, and life power Upanishads for years. They should become parts of my power Upanishads. Putai screamed excitedly. Chapter 1486, Strength of the Territory Master. Chapter 1486, Strength of the Territory Master. The 8 islands of the 8 evil power Upanishads pressed on Shi Yin like 8 holy mountains. The devouring power Upanishad in the center still released the terrifying soul-sucking force that could devour thousands of souls. Shi Yin's soul altar was slowly lifted off his body, emerging outside. Shi Yin's 2 souls appeared. The host soul and the co-soul were like twin stars, flying out first. Following them was a bright galaxy with so many stars moving in mysterious trajectories. It was his incipient extent. Under his incipient extent was the tier of power Upanishads. The black hole was the devouring power Upanishad, while the brilliant nebula was the star power Upanishad. The crystal globe contained a sparkling symbol was the life power Upanishad and the life original symbol. Shi Yin also had a strange mirror, which had reflected so many different spaces. It was the space power Upanishad. Next to it was an icy gray layer, which represented the death power Upanishad. So many flames separated from the section of power Upanishad under the co-soul. They were the heaven flames. The sea of consciousness slowly extended. Inside the sea of consciousness was a small soul pond. The soul pond stored the pure dark energy, the true soul energy. However, it occupied a tiny part of the sea of consciousness. Shi Yan's soul altar was drawn out of his body and was exposed slowly. Looking at the bright galaxy, the onlookers in the ancient demon star area were shocked. They smacked their tongues in surprise. His incipient extent had nothing at the beginning, but now, it looked really similar to the sea of stars in any territory. Seemed like it could become a suitable world for creatures to live in. Even the territory ancestors with a territory like Hero and Montesi were so thrilled that their hearts beat frantically when they saw that immense galaxy territory. They exchanged looks and saw the disbelieving looks in each other's eyes. Shi Yan's soul altar was sucked and exposed. His body was controlled, and he couldn't move. Seeing that the result of the battle was determined, Putai was more excited. 8 clones of his gathered, his real body reappearing. The 8 islands, the 8 holy mountains, continued to emit the surging evil power, subduing Shi Yan. Putai's real body came next to the black hole. He came personally to circulate the energy, focusing on taking Shi Yan's power Upanishads in his soul altar. In this world, it seemed like no force could stop him from swallowing Shi Yan's soul altar. Shi Yan had lived in this world for hundreds of years. He was equipped efficiently to pioneer. He had used blood to wash himself and reach the second sky of Immortal realm. With the power Upanishads he had, many people thought that he was bloodthirsty successor, the one who could turn a new page in the bloodthirsty force's history. No one had ever thought that he would die that way, being killed by his most favorite devouring power Upanishad. The soul hiding in his ring was about to melt him down. Inside the immense ancient demon star area, an evil energy filled the entire sky. That evil energy arrived at each corner of the star area, coming from Putai. To be precise, it came from his devouring black hole. Shi Yan's soul altar approached the black hole. Both of his souls were about to be sucked in. Meiji shivered. She couldn't stand it anymore and wanted to take action. He has a chance. Montesi hissed all of a sudden. Everybody looked shocked. So many eyes were gazing at one thing. It was the heaven flames in Shi Yan's soul altar. Those flames used to be scattered. However, at this moment before Shi Yan's twin souls entered the black hole, billions of flames with different auras had become one, turning into a massive flame as big as an ox head. The burning flame released a pure soul energy. It was the purest dark energy. Shi Yan's co-soul suddenly immersed in it, sinking into that cluster of flame. Shi Yan's body was so stagnant that he couldn't even move. However, in just a blink of an eye, he got rid of the constraints. The life ball of life power Upanishad and the river of the star power Upanishad changed their locations, moving underneath Shi Yan's co-soul. Under everybody's gaze, Shi Yan's co-soul and the flame merged into one. The surging dark energy emitted from Shi Yan's co-soul had suddenly triggered the star and life power Upanishad. Thud, thump, thud, thump. So many thick and low sounds pounded people's hearts like drumbeats. Everybody was startled, trying to find the source of the noise. This kind of noise was like the sound of the soul that could run directly into their souls, which their ears couldn't hear. That was why they couldn't find its source. It's the nucleus of the stars. They are shaking. Hero was frightened. It was the first time he had screamed. The nuclei in all the stars, solar stars, lunar stars, and life stars of the ancient demon star area are stimulated. They seem about to receive life and cognition shortly. Xian He, Frederick, and the others were baffled. They knew it was so strange, but they didn't know what would happen when the star's nuclei vibrated. They all looked at Hero, waiting. This ancient demon star area belongs to desolate territory. Everything in this area, From a speck of dust to an entire planet was created by Desolate. Hero looked at those who were so baffled, talking with a bitter smile. This place is Desolate's territory. Every matter here was created by Desolate. I still don't get it, Shin, he screamed. Yan's fused with the Grace mainland. His co-soul and the origin of the Grace mainland are one body. Now, all the heaven flames have become the soul flame. The origin is actually made of dark energy. It's Desolate's wisdom. It's Desolate itself. Montesi suddenly got it as she turned to look at Yin, talking in fright. Yin got one of Desolate's clones, and he's one of the masters of Desolate territory. He can control everything in Desolate territory. It's his world. He can control everything. He, Frederick, and the others were panic-stricken as they finally understood. It was like the incipient extent they had. In that incipient extent, they were the soul god, the principle. This was inside Desolate's territory. In this place, Yin was one of the true gods, the principle and the great path of power Upanishads. What kind of power could bind him, the master of this territory, in his own territory? Thus, the seal created by the holy mountains of the 8 evil powers had been lifted shortly. Yin regained his mobility. He wasn't bound anymore. At the same time, all the warriors in the ancient demon star area screamed in fear, their faces pale. They saw a spectacular scene they would never forget. The bright suns and moons of the ancient demon star area rolled and marched toward them together with the life stars they had dwelled and cultivated on. They were all the real stars, the foundation of the ancient demon star area, mothers of countless creatures. Many life stars had warriors and ordinary people living and working on them. People with keen eyes could see the desperate faces on them as they were watching the last day of this world, the apocalypse. Thousands of massive suns and moons rolled torrentially like a rapid flood current. Billions of lives on so many life stars were shaken as the nuclei inside their planets had affected their souls by sending strong vibes. Stars were seen everywhere. This spectacular scene would never appear in anybody's imaginations or dreams. Thump, 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 thump. All the planets seemed to have a heart which was throbbing vigorously. The ordinary people living on those planets were screaming and crying. They deemed that it was the wrath of their god to destroy this world entirely. The warriors that couldn't get rid of their planets were desperate and fearful, as they knew they couldn't avoid the doomsday. Not good. Putai was panicking for the first time. When he saw all the planets of the ancient demon star area storming, he finally knew what was going on. Yin had completely fused with Desolate's clone and become the master of this territory. He now was one of the masters who could set up rules. At this moment, Yin was still Yin, but he had an immortal, archaic aura. It was Desolate's aura, the actual master of this territory. Turi. Under the terrible pressure when the stars moved, Putai couldn't help but spurt out blood. The armor on his body had many fine cracks as if it would be shattered at any minute. Boom! A massive life star that was as big as the Grace mainland accelerated and bumped into the Soul Control Island. With that, the Soul Control Island was pressed to crack and shatter. So many souls flew out from the island. Unexpectedly, Minghao's souls were there too. It was Minghao's soul clones sealed on the island. When the island was broken, they were finally released. Minghao's soul clones exploded and then congregated, creating his form magically. Almost at the same time, Minghao, who was confined in the endless darkness, could feel that. He couldn't help but laugh crazily. Amidst his laughter, shadows of Minghao's souls disappeared, getting rid of the darkness. With the bonds between the souls, his confined souls could gather toward the souls outside. In the next instant, Minghao saw the wonder that could destroy the entire star area. Thousands of planets were spinning and barging. Those planets had billions of lives. As the creatures there knew that the world was about to be destroyed, they were crying and screaming, praying for their god to save them. Minghao could feel their fears and despair. Minghao didn't know what was going on. His eyes moved away, and he immediately found Yin with starlight blooming on his body. 720 acupuncture points in Yin's body were shining like stars, moving in the star trajectory on his body. The movement of those acupuncture points seemed to be the ringleaders that had stimulated the stars in desolate territory. Boom, boom, boom. 7 massive stars zoomed over, precisely hitting the 7 islands that represented the death, corrosion, dark, chaos, destruction, despair, and corpse chi power Upanishads. Compared to the real planets, those islands were like a grain of rice standing by a big ball, crushed easily. The 7 islands shattered thoroughly. Looking at the islands of the great inheritances being crushed into powder, Ming Hao gawked as if his eyes were about to fall off his sockets. He was the sole control chief, so he understood the mysteries and intimidation of those islands. Anyway, no matter how strong they were, how could they resist real planets? As the 7 islands were smashed, countless mountains and lands collapsed on the planets. Billions of ordinary people were slaughtered, their souls vanishing shortly. They had lived on their planets for so many years. They had grown crops and bred cattle, as well as having cultivated there. Many of them had never left their lands once in their lives. They were so bitter because they couldn't control their own lives, all vanishing from this world just like that. The 8 islands were broken apart, and Pu Tai's armor turned into powder. He was gory, and his eyes were still bloodthirsty. However, his aura was reduced greatly. He hurried to retrieve the black hole, not daring to linger for a second. Space confine. Shi Yin looked mindful while hovering in the void. Countless stars were spinning wildly around him. His eyes weren't red, as he looked like a glacier that had been frozen for tens of thousands of years. He just pointed at Pu Tai indifferently. The void of the ancient demon star area seemed to become his invisible hand, squeezing Pu Tai's body. Pu Tai couldn't move anymore. Chapter 1487. The Reversed Flow of Time. Chapter 1487. The Reversed Flow of Time. At this moment, all the planets and all beings on them, like plants, creatures, thunder, and lightning, in the ancient demon star area were happy as Shi Yin was happy. They would be touched if Shi Yin were touched, and they would be sad as Shi Yin were as upset. Especially, they would rampage if Shi Yin fell into his rampage phase. He was this world. He was the representative of everything. He was the nature of natural principle. It was the real power of the territory master. Pu Tai in this star area was inside Shi Yan's prison. How could he escape the master's claw? The atmosphere on the stars changed into a hand of a giant god, squeezing Pu Tai maliciously. Crack, crack, boom. Pu Tai's body wasn't as tough as Bloodthirsty's body from that year. The massive claw created by the spirit of thousands of creatures had squeezed him into pieces easily. His bones pierced through his skin, bleeding terribly. He looked like a big hedgehog that was beaten pathetically. The incident happened shortly. Shi Yin, who was bound and about to be swallowed, had overturned the situation at the critical moment, now seizing the upper hand. The right time and right location had changed. Shi Yin could now control the entire heaven and earth in his hand. How could Pu Tai defeat him? Who are you? Are you still Shi Yin? You're desolate. Shi Yin, you're a coward. At the critical moment, you are willing to give up yourself, handing yourself into Desolate's hand to deal with me. It's not a proud defeat. Pu Tai's grunt came from the gory chunk of meat. He was completely deformed. I am always me. The 8 colossal planets hovered in the void, moving continually. They looked like 8 ancient gods protecting Shi Yin, assisting him in subduing this entire world. He floated under the 8 planets, coldly looking at Pu Tai. His eyes suddenly looked deep and mysterious, as if they had become 2 deep ponds that could make anybody sink in them. Swoosh! The black hole arose from the crown of his head. It was just as big as a grain of rice at first, but in just a blink of an eye, it swelled up into a pitch-black cave. Just like a massive black diamond, it came and implanted into Pu Tai's head. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The devouring power Upanishad was activated. Waves of powerful suction force arose from the black hole. Pu Tai was now a mess of flesh as his soul altar was drawn out of his head slowly. History repeated terrifyingly. Less than 15 minutes ago, Putai had used the same move to deal with Shi Yin. And now, Shi Yin had followed his way, using the devouring power Upanishad to seize his soul altar and obtain his spirit, power Upanishads, and God power. Everything Putai had. Oh my God, it has changed so fast. He can move the stars and control the universe. What kind of power is it? It's the power of the Lord of all skies. Putai is going to be doomed now. No, he's not. It's still there. The warriors surrounding the ancient demon continent were frightened. They discussed, their eyes gazing at the dark abyss. Billions of years had passed, and the legend about the absolute beginning creature devourer had never faded. They said that it was the original god of destruction and evil. The meaning of its existence was to destroy all life stars, whole of the universe. Legends said that the end of the absolute beginning era was related to this original god of evil. Today, Devour was awakened, hovering above the ancient demon continent and using the devouring power Upanishad to refine one clone of Desolate. He wanted to accomplish his plan of invading Desolate. He was the creator, the ancestor of the devouring clan. Putai was here under his direction. Would he just watch and let Shi Yin refine Putai? Would he be willing to let Bloodthirsty defeat it one more time? Everybody thought that Devour wouldn't just watch Putai die. They all focused on the Dark Abyss as they wanted to see what this creature from the absolute beginning era would do. A dark, cold soul energy was emitted from the Dark Abyss. The Dark Abyss was like an evil creature from the ancient time that slowly rose up and stretched its body after a long slumber. The Dark Abyss then fumed a large amount of black smoke, diffusing around. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The followers of Devour, who were nearest to the ancient demon continent, had their bodies and souls dissolved as they hadn't had the time to recognize what had just happened. Their bodies and souls became wisps of smoke, entering the clusters of black smoke. Their tragic, instant deaths made the abyss expand faster. After less than a minute, millions of warriors around the ancient demon star area were dissolved, becoming a part of the Dark Abyss. As that absolute beginning creature was the grandmaster of the devouring power Upanishad, it could swallow even the world. It was effortless to melt the creatures that had followed it. Arg! Get out of here. Quick. Gosh, it's killing us. It's crazy. The warriors from different clans that had submitted to Putai and Devour, the creatures living in this desolate territory, screamed desperately while trying to run away for their lives. Boom, boom, boom. All of a sudden, the black hole mark on their foreheads, which they had used to receive the energy, shattered. The heads of warriors who wanted to run away fell off their bodies, exploding like watermelons. Then, their headless bodies were covered by the Dark Abyss. All of them, including the power from their bodies, souls, and soul altars, had been merged into the Dark Abyss. Terrifyingly, the Dark Abyss continued to expand. A piece of the abyss that looked like the cold sea came to Shi Yin, attempting to draw him and Putai into the abyss altogether. At this moment, Shi Yin was using the devouring power Upanishad, trying to refine Putai. Looking at the Dark Abyss coming close, he knew it was the wrath of Devour, the absolute beginning creature. In just a short time, Devour had absorbed the power from all of his followers. His body expanded, overshadowing the entire star area. As soon as the Dark Abyss reached the stars in the ancient demon star area, Shi Yin lost the control of those stars instantly. Devour wanted to swallow and refine the ancient demon star area entirely. Seeing millions of warriors killed and billions of ordinary people dead because of his attack on Putai, his eyes were calm and indifferent. He finally understood that in the eyes of the existences at Devour and Desolate's level, the lowly creatures like him and his friends were just like tiny ants. They would never care about their lives or deaths. Just like butchers killing the cattle to feed, they had slaughtered the members of different races to achieve their goals. Desolate and Devour weren't different from each other in this aspect. They didn't mind the lives of ordinary people. Because they got the power to create new lives and new creatures, they didn't need to care. Devour was now the Dark Abyss, which was reaching further and further. It was really close to Shi Yin. However, at this moment, He had to concentrate on swallowing Putai. He didn't have extra effort to resist Devour. Right at this moment, he pitched his voice. I've crossed thousands of miles to the Sea of Annihilation to invite you here, not to give you a chance to watch the fun. I got you here to give a hand at this moment. What are you waiting for? A gray-brown asteroid flashed amidst the current of asteroids. Montesi, Hero, and Gay turned into the outer space streamers, heading toward the dark abyss. Montesi, Hero, can't believe you're here. Inside a thickly dark area, Forefather Labit of the Devouring Clan screamed in fright. He was enraged on seeing Shi Yin control the entire world and Ming Hao escaping, and was startled when he saw Montesi, Hero, and Gay. Labit felt uneasy, finding the situation getting out of control. Montesi and Hero had added more variables to desolate territory at this moment. Their variables could make the Devouring Clan's 10,000-year plan a big failure. It's just Labit, who cultivates dark power Upanishad. We're still lucky that Edgar isn't here, or else it'd be more trouble. Seeing him, Montesi exhaled in relief. She knew that at the first sky of Territory Ancestor Realm, Labit couldn't stop them. Gay, you deal with Labit. Assigned Hero. Okay. Gay of the White Bone Clan and Labit were both at the first sky of Territory Ancestor Realm. He nodded on receiving the order. Absolute Beginning Creature Devour. In the Absolute Beginning era, you were already infamous. Your mission is to destroy and terminate. You had contributed to the end of the Absolute Beginning era. Anyway, it's different now. In this new era, you're outdated. You will die one after another, as it's predestined. It's the rule of development, the rule of time, history, heaven, and earth, something that no one can change. Montesi's petite body released an immense, white moonlight. The void behind her appeared like bands of streamers, as if time was flying fast. Behind Montesi, time seemed to reverse as the ultimate change of heaven and earth. It was utterly strange when so many shadows of Crowd Devour had killed previously suddenly emerged like a rewound movie. The extending dark abyss shrunk fast above the ancient demon continent. Time in that area suddenly reversed, and countless wisps of gray smoke and mist fumed out of the dark abyss. It was the heaven and earth energy of the ancient demon continent Devour had taken in previously. At this moment, Devour spat out parts of the ancient demon continent he had swallowed. It was what had happened dozens of years ago. Montesi looked around 11 or 12 years old, but she had mastered the time power Upanishad, just like Xia Xian Yin. However, since she was at the Territory Ancestor Realm, she could even reverse time. Although Shi Yin had fused with the origin of the Grace Mainland, one of Desolate's clones, he was aghast. He understood that Montesi could only make the energy reverse when she rewound time. She couldn't recover lives that were lost. The shadows of the dead warriors were created with energy, so they didn't have a soul or intelligence. Montesi could reverse time to distort the energy circulation, but she couldn't do that to save lives. No matter what, this power Upanishad was really mighty. Chapter 1488, Swallow. Chapter 1488, Swallow, __. The time-reversing power had applied only on Devour, causing it to spit out all kinds of energies it had absorbed. The pure heaven and earth energy from the ancient demon continent it had nibbled was released as well. It was an extremely formidable power Upanishad. Everybody watched from a far distance and found many illusory shadows by the edge of the ancient demon continent. Those people that were killed reappeared without the souls or intelligence under the effects of time power Upanishad, as they were created with pure energy. Shi Yin was nearest to that area, and he had mastered devouring power Upanishad. His eyes brightened, talking to Montesi, "Thank you." He then immediately devoured the energy that had just returned. Countless crystal light balls, which were manifestations of energy, flew into the black cave like a sprinkle. Shi Yin had swallowed them all. "You're welcome. This amount of energy should be enough for you to awaken the two precursors of the White Bone Clan. I'm just doing you a favor." Montesi giggled while zooming over the dark abyss like a dark shadow. Behind her, the current of time was still rising high, distorting the rule of time in this world. Xian He, Frederick, and De Carlos looked at the magnificent bands of light from the distance, their scalps turning numb. Montesi in the shape of a little girl had frightened them greatly. Power of time. It's the real power of time. My master had searched for a long time, but he had never seen the real power of time. I can't believe I'm lucky enough to witness it today. De Carlos had cultivated space power, Upanishad to the second sky of Immortal realm. He looked shocked when he recalled something. No wonder why she had eyed Xia Xin strangely as soon as that little girl came to the Grace mainland. Turns out that's the cause. No wonder her eyes got brightened. When Montesi had arrived in the Grace mainland, Xia Xin was there as well. At that time, Montesi had scrutinized the latter, just like treasure lovers looked at rare gemstones, her eyes sparkling. Montesi had concealed well, not showing anything. Perhaps she was waiting to take the next step after the situation in desolate territory was stabilized. But De Carlos had paid attention. He had secretly helped Xia Xin reach the incipient god realm by giving her pure energy and did have a plan. But he didn't know why Montesi had laid her eyes on Xia Xin. Although he was at the second sky of Immortal realm, he couldn't know about Montesi's realm. Thus, he was confused all the time. But now, he finally got it. In this vast galaxy, the warriors cultivating time power Upanishads were even lesser than the ones cultivating space power Upanishad. Sometimes, the entire star area didn't have even one expert using this power Upanishad. It was because the time power Upanishad was very magical. There was no book or record showing the way to obtain and cultivate this power. Each warrior with this power Upanishad often had extremely complicated background and encounters. Not many people could understand the time power Upanishad. The one who could cultivate it to the high realm were as rare as unicorn horns or the phoenix feathers. Montesi was from the top echelon of the Phantom clan, but she hadn't found any member with the talent of learning time power Upanishad in her clan. She was worried because she couldn't find a successor. She had wandered and sought in many territories, but still got nothing. Unexpectedly, after arriving at the desolate territory this time, the moment she landed on the Grace mainland, she immediately found an expert who cultivated time power Upanishad at the incipient god realm. Moreover, she was a beautiful young lady. Nothing could be more perfect. At that moment, Montesi had made up her mind. Even if she had to steal her, she had to bring her away. She thought that even though she couldn't get anything from this trip to desolate territory, as long as she could take Xia Xin, it would be worth it all already. Because of the everlasting inheritance it is, I should have thought about it. De Carlos looked at Montesi, his face bitter. Seems like I can't fulfill my teacher's wish. How can I be compared to Montesi? Sigh, never mind. De Carlos' teacher was defeated by Bloodthirsty, and he died not long after that. Before his master died, he had found a secret technique. He assumed that if someone could combine the space and time power Upanishad, he could seal the entire world completely. He could seal every creature. He had imparted to Carlos that secret technique and hoped that he could test it. Unfortunately, De Carlos didn't cultivate the time power Upanishad. He couldn't check or practice that technique to see if it was possible or not. When he found Xia Xin, he wanted to give her his master's secret technique. Although he couldn't cultivate the time power Upanishad, he could teach her space power Upanishad. He hoped that Xia Xin could cultivate both space and time power Upanishad one day, so that she could test that theory and technique, and finally fulfill his teacher's wish. But now, seeing Montesi's performance and her intention of making Xia Xin her successor, he knew that he would never become Xia Xin's teacher. Hero! Montesi screamed from the dark abyss as she was maintaining her time, reserving power to wear out Devour. She wanted to use time power Upanishad to pull Devour back to the stage. He was wounded so badly that he had to stay dormant. Then, Hero, the expert cultivating metal power Upanishad who was famous for his destructive power, would crush Devour into pieces. Hero of the White Bone clan had a snow-white bone body, shining like a star in the dark abyss. The rays of light from him carried the extremely destructive power of metal in the world. They could pierce through and explode everything, including the absolute beginning creatures. His rays of starlight were created by his soul energy and God power. The pure soul energy with the support from the God power could obliterate the entire territory. Although Yin was swallowing the energy from the dead creatures, he could feel the ancient demon star area like a sheet of fabric pricked by sharp knives. Hero's sharp metal power was so formidable. Montesi and Hero were two of the 10 great territory ancestors of the sea domain of nihility. They were the peerless existences in the sea domain of nihility, the proud demons, from a certain aspect. As they had joined hands, Devour was subdued. If Ancestor hadn't been wounded after years of fighting against Desolate, how could you have been his match? It's really bad that Edgar isn't here. Damn it. Labit of the Devouring clan was fighting Gay. He was so impulsive when Devour was subdued by Montesi and Hero that his soul was about to shatter. He knew that if Devour finished refining the ancient demon continent and the God-blessed mainland, he could recover half of his power. And, if he could take in the Grace mainland and Desolate, he would reach his peak once again, maybe even leap up. At that time, Devour could rule over the entire sea domain of nihility, making all creatures and races submit to him. The other 6 clans couldn't resist Devour, and would have become Devours or the Devouring clan servants. Unfortunately, Yin had the guts to cooperate with Montesi and Hero, bringing them to Desolate territory to destroy the plan the Devouring clan had spent a lot of efforts and even deaths to prepare during 10,000 years. It made Labit outraged. He had made up his mind. He would sacrifice his life to destroy Yin and release Putai. Then, Putai could use his soul power to connect with the forbidden land of the Devouring clan to bring Edgar here. Right at the moment he had decided to do that, Meiji and Emperor Sea Shark had seen his motivation. They didn't watch anymore, flying toward him to join Gay. They all attacked Labit, giving him no chance to self-detonate and kill Yin. The dark abyss above the ancient demon continent that seemed like the sea of jet-black clouds was shrinking. Beams of energy dripped from the dark clouds like lines of rain falling onto the ancient demon continent. The dried, dead trees on the continent sprouted, and the grass began to grow on the cold, barren lands. Everything was revived. The ancient demon continent that was about to be swallowed like an ancient creature facing death was rescued. The dark abyss, Devour, was shrinking as if it was about to stay quiescent. At this moment, Putai's soul altar was finally drawn out. Putai's soul altar was magical. Under his host soul was the incipient extent which looked like the dark abyss. However, it had a viscous, vast blood sea where floated 9 islands. Those islands had the sacrificial altars that represented the 8 evil power Upanishads and the devouring power Upanishad. Under the incipient extent was the tier of power Upanishads, which looked even stranger. It had 9 masses of air, the appearances of the great power Upanishads. Underneath was the sea of consciousness, which had a soul pond containing the dark energy. That soul pond was bigger than Yin's. Get in. Putai's soul altar entered Yin's devouring power Upanishad. With a cold face, he rose his hand to snatch. Putai had become a mess of bleeding flesh. A ring flew out of that bloody thing, returning to Yin's hand. It was the ring spirit. Oh, you. A beast roar suddenly reverberated from nowhere, and a wild beast appeared by Putai's body, suddenly that looked like a ferocious flood dragon. It was several hundred meters long, covered in rigid scales. This beast had an enormous amount of life energy. It emerged all of a sudden, as if it had torn the space to come here, and then swallowed Putai in just one bite. That beast had a pair of neon green eyes which were gazing at Yin. As the latter gazed back at it, it slowly disappeared into the void. The beast came and swallowed Putai, then left shortly. All the warriors on the scene were shocked. Putai had Wetterson's body, which had a lot of Bloodthirsty's remains. It had contained all of Bloodthirsty's essence. Yin hadn't placed his hand on the dead body, but the beast that came out of nowhere had taken it. Nobody could accept this sudden incident. Yin was puzzled while looking in the direction the beast had just disappeared. He had a familiar feeling toward it indeed. That beast's aura gave him a trail of something dear to him. Ghost Hunter. That's Ghost Hunter. He's changed greatly, but that's his aura. Can't be wrong. Azure Dragon screamed hoarsely. Ghost Hunter had disappeared for 100 years. He had eaten Song Yun and gotten the origin of the ancient demon continent. Why is he here? His aura is really powerful, much stronger than any one of us. What happened to him after all? He screamed in fright. Besides Death Power Upanishad, he had also mastered Life Power Upanishad. Although Ghost Hunter had just revealed his body in a short glimpse, he could recognize the enormous life energy in his body, which was much stronger than him and Frederick, and even more abundant than the holy beast Azure Dragon, who had lived 10,000 years. What had happened to Ghost Hunter after he had disappeared for 100 years? What made him so intimidating? Chapter 1489, Third Sky of Immortal Realm. Chapter 1489, Third Sky of Immortal Realm. Understandable. Yin didn't dare to confirm, but he got it when Azure Dragon mentioned that. It was Ghost Hunter. The beast that had appeared out of nowhere was Ghost Hunter. That was Ghost Hunter's real body, but enlarged hundreds of times. Nevertheless, the icy, brutal aura stayed the same. But why could Ghost Hunter tear the space to come here? Why could he move freely like that? And why did he have to swallow Pu Tai? He had so many doubts that he hated he couldn't hoist Ghost Hunter here to interrogate. Ghost Hunter's sudden appearance had frightened many people. And that was because the aura on Ghost Hunter today was extremely formidable. The warriors at Minghong and He's level would have to struggle hard to resist Ghost Hunter. His life energy could be compared to a territory ancestor. Thump, 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 thump. The throbbing explosions arose from inside the ancient demon continent. That grumbling rhythm was so strange that normal people couldn't perceive it. Only Yin and Audrey could feel it. They couldn't help but focus on the ancient demon continent. Swish. A shining crack was torn underneath the ancient demon continent like a beast opening its mouth. The ancient demon continent plunged, sinking and disappearing into that slit. It was exactly what had just happened to Ghost Hunter. Ghost Hunter had killed Song Yun and obtained the origin of the ancient demon continent, so he now had a magical bond with that ancient continent. At this moment, Ghost Hunter and the ancient demon continent had left this star area altogether. Everybody had a strange, curious light in their eyes. Air? Montesi pulled herself together to observe, her face astonished. She suddenly found that the ancient demon continent seemed to have a life as if it was a person getting up after a long sleep. It came with waves of ancient life energy. Star will ceases. The suns, moons, and stars in the sky ceased. Behind Yin, countless stars hovered in the void like massive rocks. Yin stood neatly on an ash-gray asteroid. The black hole shrank little by little, entering his soul altar. A marvelous, indescribable feeling arose in his soul. The electric pulses of memory related to the devouring clan and other knowledge flashed in his brain. In less than a minute, he knew many secrets of the devouring clan. He knew it was the memory from Pu Tai, the young chief of the devouring clan, the one who came here with a great mission. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. His black hole moved, and the memory in Pu Tai's soul altar was extracted bit by bit. Pu Tai's soul seal was erased, everything of his being washed away. Yin had a strange, magical light on his face. He looked happy as he found that his black hole had absorbed and refined Pu Tai much faster than he had thought. Perhaps it was because of their origin. After Pu Tai's sea of consciousness was cleared up, it murmured while pouring down from the black hole into Yan's sea of consciousness like a heavenly waterfall. This flow of energy helped Yan's sea of consciousness expand unceasingly. The soul pond that contained Pu Tai's pure soul energy also ran into Yan's soul pond. Shortly, Yan's sea of consciousness had been doubled, and his dark energy had grown greatly. The 8 crystal balls representing the 8 power Upanishads were shining while spinning inside the black hole. Eventually, they sank into Yan's tier of power Upanishads. Soul control, death, corrosion, dark, chaos, destruction, despair, and corpse chi power Upanishads had arrived there. creating an octagonal formation with the Death Power Upanishad merged with Shi Yan's available Death Power Upanishad, and the black hole of the Devouring Power Upanishad worshipped in the center. The flood currents with the memory, understandings, and profound experiences had all entered Shi Yan's soul. He now had a deep perception of Putai toward the 8 power Upanishads and the magical abilities of the soul control, death, corrosion, dark, chaos, destruction, despair, and corpse chi power Upanishads. He received them, making them his possessions. Putai's power Upanishads, memories, and soul energy were absorbed fast, becoming a part of Shi Yan. Shi Yan now had a strange but wonderful feeling. He knew he was complete now. He knew he had finally and officially received Bloodthirsty's inheritance. He got it all now. The blood vein ring must have kept the 8 great, evil power Upanishads. After Putai had swallowed the ring's spirit, he had stopped it from sending all the powers to him. That was why he had comprehended only the death and devouring power Upanishads. He hadn't received the inheritances of the other power Upanishads. Devouring and the 8 evil powers were one entity that shouldn't be divided. Having all of them, the warrior could use the strongest and fiercest abilities. He had swallowed everything from Putai. With the new comprehension of the 8 power Upanishads, his soul slowly sublimated while his god power ancient tree was changed greatly. Third sky of Immortal Realm. Shi Yan laughed while lifting his head to observe the stars in the sky. His line of sight raked from Montesi, Hero, to the Dark Abyss, then to Xian He, Ming Hong, and the others. He suddenly felt so excited. Today, he was fully deserving of being the new master of Bloodthirsty's force. He had fused the devouring power Upanishad with the 8 evil power Upanishads, finally succeeding Bloodthirsty. He was even more intimidating and full of potential than Bloodthirsty, because he had also mastered the star, life, and space power Upanishads, which were the powers that could turn the desolate territory upside down. I need to strengthen my realm. He flashed and reappeared by Xian He and Frederick. Then, he deliberately sat down cross-legged, closing his eyes. Guard me? All right, Xian He and Frederick replied, instinctively agreeing. Then, Xian He and Frederick exchanged looks and saw fright in each other's eyes. They had just had a magical feeling. It felt as if their former master Bloodthirsty had just ordered him, which they had obeyed instinctively. They looked at Shi Yan in astonishment. He has swallowed Putai, finally and officially inheriting everything of Master. Perhaps he'll be even stronger than our master in the future. Ming Hong's gloomy shadow swayed, his eyes respectful. He pondered for seconds, then respectfully kneeled. I, Ming Hong, welcome new master. Today, he had officially acknowledged Shi Yan's position and lowered his proud head. Xian He and Frederick were bewildered, but they reacted timely, kneeling in front of Shi Yan like Ming Hong and speaking in unison. Welcome, new master. From now on, they would follow Shi Yan and serve him as the new master of the Bloodthirsty force and their new master. Today, Shi Yan had used his realm, competence, and power Upanishads to prove that he had the qualifications. Qualifications were formed from his power, and Shi Yan's power now was enough to support his qualifications. Rise, all of you. Shi Yan sat still, slowly closing his eyes and focusing. His will came toward the new power Upanishads he had just received, to stabilize his new realm. After killing and swallowing Putai, he had advanced to the next level, entering the third sky of Immortal Realm. He had harvested the 7 power Upanishads, including soul control, corrosion, dark, chaos, destruction, despair, and corpse chi. He needed time to digest and comprehend them. He didn't even mind devour much, since he hoped that Hero and Montesi could kill or refine him. Hero, be prepared. Montesi urged her power. Inside the torrential current of time behind her, more and more energies rose. After the ancient demon continent disappeared, the dark abyss, Devour shrank continually. At this moment, it was just a small piece which looked condensed and silent. Xian He and Frederick saw the dark abyss return to the shape they were familiar with, looking dead. Inside the dark abyss, the endless blood sea arose and blood bubbled. Each of them seemed to have a soul and consciousness. The blood bubbles moved and congregated, creating a blood vacuum area. All of a sudden, a low-pitched, mysterious whining voice arose deep inside the blood sea. A cluster of blood light appeared inside that bubble, shining dazzlingly. Deep inside the sea domain of nihility, in the ancestral land of the devouring clan, an old man of the devouring clan was soaking in a blood pond. The bubbles in the pond floated up into the sky and created a big bubble in front of him. His crimson eyes flared with anger. "I can't believe someone dares to disturb our ancestor." He turned into a drop of scarlet blood, falling into the bubble. The blood bubble blasted, and he disappeared altogether. In the next moment, a drop of blood appeared inside the bubble above the blood sea inside Devour on the ancient demon continent. That drop of blood wiggled, growing into a man from the devouring clan. This man in his 30s had a sinister face as he walked out of the blood sea. A bloodthirsty aura shot out of his head as a warning, in the form of a thick smoke column. A blood light bloomed from the dark abyss and pierced through everything as it expanded, covering the entire area. Montesi's time power Upanishad was hindered. She couldn't continue to channel her power when a blood hue dyed her current of time. Edgar is coming." Montesi's face changed drastically, yelling, Edgar's here." Hero was frightened as well. He didn't hesitate, immediately storming into the thick blood sea and finding Edgar. "Montesi, Hero, you dare to attack our devouring clan's ancestor. You come to this desolate territory to court death." Edgar's wild grunt echoed around the star area. "Master Edgar, Pu Tai's dead. Young Chief is dead." Labit screamed. "My son is dead? How is he dead?" Edgar roared as if he had a serious mental illness or was an enraged beast. His roars had pressed the space to crack like a broken mirror, exploding several stars around. Inside the surging blood torrent, Edgar surfed the wave, his body dripping with blood as he shouted, Who killed my son?" Edgar, the current chief of the devouring clan, was also one of the 10 great territory ancestors in the sea domain of nihility, and Pu Tai was his son. Chapter 1490, Alarm. Chapter 1490, Alarm, __. In a corner of the ancient god star area, above a scorching sun, halos swelled and exploded. The ground was red like hot iron as a shadow halted there. The true flame of the sun couldn't threaten him. He seemed to blend well with the heat and the extreme light. He was Brian, the godlord. He looked a little tired. When he saw the 4 lights in different colors chasing after him, he felt cold. He could never believe that his former subordinates had reached the 3rd sky of Immortal realm with Huey's support. They all had the real power of the soul, and their realm wasn't much different from his. More importantly, this group of 4 understood the arts of cooperation. When they joined hands, their powers were doubled. Brian had reached the peak of Immortal realm. He understood the dark energy and had created his territory. He shouldn't waste a lot of energy. Otherwise, it would take forever to break through to the territory ancestor realm. Also, he wasn't sure that he could overwhelm the 4 great heavenly kings. He was afraid that the heavenly kings would hold him back and Tianxia would drain him to death. That was why he kept running. He ran to this blazing sun because he felt something dear here. He didn't know why, but it somehow eased his restless mind. "Brian, don't blame us for pursuing you. We've been with you for many years. We know how strong you are." Easygoing smiled faintly while calmly walking toward him. "You're the Mara in our minds. If you don't die, we can't advance anymore. Only killing you will help us reach the territory ancestor realm. Your existence will affect Goddess Mother too. We have to kill you." The 3 heavenly kings, Divine Marshal, Light, and Carefree also landed on this burning sun. Looking at Brian, their faces were heavy. "It doesn't matter that you've betrayed me. You shouldn't betray your ancestors and this world of yours." Brian let out a low-pitched shout. "Ancestors? Our world?" Carefree burst out laughing. "We have never met any one of them before. Who did you mention? Desolate? Haha, What's the difference? Under Desolate's rule, we were still servants. Otherwise, we wouldn't have destroyed Bloodthirsty that year. And now, Goddess Mother has erased the slave mark Desolate had carved in our souls. She let us follow her and taught us the magic of the soul energy. It's much better than what Desolate had offered, right? Then, why do we have to go with Desolate? It chose you that year, not us. But after it chose you, it didn't give you the power of the dark energy. The God Lord looked at them coldly. He didn't talk more as he knew they wanted to walk the same path as we. He was just one step away from the territory ancestor realm. He didn't want to waste energy, so he decided to leave. However, right at this moment, a crack appeared in the flaming layer of this sun, and Ghost Hunter abruptly stormed out. After swallowing Pu Tai in the ancient demon star area, Ghost Hunter had disappeared mysteriously. And now, he was here. As soon as he came, he immediately barged into the 4 heavenly kings. His roaring and howling seemed to break the entire sky like thousands of thunderbolts booming at the same time. His roar had something vague but marvelous, like a hot flame, wild thunderbolts, and the sharpness of metal. The 4 heavenly kings were shaken and dizzy. They found their soul altars trembling, and their souls aghast. All of them were extremely frightened and petrified as Ghost Hunter emerged all of a sudden. That's Ghost Hunter, the beast that had eaten Song Yun. He's the heir of the heavenly monster tribe chosen by Azure Dragon. It is almost 100 years since he had disappeared. Easygoing screamed in fear. Being dazed for seconds, he provided the information as he was in charge of collecting intelligence in the ancient God Star area. Crack, crack. Ghost Hunter's stinky, giant mouth was chewing Pu Tai's body. Wisps of Bloodthirsty's pure energy slowly entered its fearsome, bestial body. Brian looked at Ghost Hunter, his face changing as he screamed ear-piercingly, You are? Ghost Hunter coldly regarded him. Brian didn't finish his sentence, so the heavenly kings didn't know who Ghost Hunter really was. They were already petrified because of his aura. This kind of surging life energy had frightened them badly. Oh, you. Another roar echoed, which had actually shaken the entire place. Then, the flames of the suns gathered, covering the 4 heavenly kings. The 4 heavenly kings felt fearful as if they were facing their nemesis. They wanted to urge their power Upanishads, but none of their abilities worked. They discolored in fright, exchanging a brief look. Then, they didn't dare to linger and hastily flew away. Ghost Hunter just roared, but didn't pursue the others. After shooing the 4 heavenly kings away, he didn't mind Godlord, leaving shortly. After a flash, he disappeared. Brian looked extremely stunned. After Ghost Hunter had left, he was still murmuring to himself, It's really familiar to me. Who is it? It's him, or him. Ancient God Continent. Ziyao was sitting neatly on the crystal, the tiara throne implanted on the massive snakehead. Her bright eyes looked as if she had confined so many stars in them. She suddenly got something, so she sent her soul messages to call her servants. Not long afterward, Tianxia brought the experts under his command and gathered by Ziyao. They kneeled down respectfully, their faces suspicious. They didn't know why Ziyao had summoned them. They knew something big had happened, which stirred them up. Shi Yan's back from the sea domain of Nihility. He's in the ancient demon star area, attacking Devour. Devour's not in a good situation. Ziyao's smart eyes showed her intelligence. Shi Yan's really bold. He has connected to the territory ancestor realm experts of the sea domain of Nihility. He's not afraid of shattering this desolate territory. Goddess Mother, you mean someone from outer space? Tianxia was frightened. Not just one. Those aliens are the peak existences of this era. It's troublesome to deal with them. Devour had received more severe wounds than I did. I'm afraid he can't endure, Ziyao said calmly. So, the existence like you can't resist the peerless experts of this era? Tianxia changed his visage. Devour and I haven't recovered fully. We got damaged badly in the previous era, so we can't recover quickly. Only if we can eat up Desolate can we fully recover. It's the reason why Devour and I are hurried to swallow the ancient demon continent and the ancient god continent. If they finish Devour, they will come to the ancient god star area to find us. Ziyao said indifferently, then gave an order. Open the space passage. We're going to the ancient demon star area to find Devour. I have an agreement with him. Let's go. Above the god zenith, a light bridge was conjured which could unlimitedly carry people and things across space. Ziyao, Tianxie, and their subordinates walked on that bridge. Their figures faded as they disappeared one by one. Chapter 1491. Are you her? Chapter 1491. Are you her? __. Inside the rolling darkness, a shadow came and roared furiously. Roars and howls reverberated like the bell of death, pounding on everybody's soul. The souls of the ordinary people living on the surrounding star areas exploded instantly as if they were struck by lightning. It was the enraged roar Edgar had sounded as he had to bear the agony of his son's death. His roar had shattered souls and blasted soul altars. Hero and Montesi had confined Devour, but they didn't expect that Devour in this situation could bring Edgar here to destroy their plan. As soon as Edgar appeared, his thundering bellow had smashed Montesi's time seal to rescue Devour. Hero hadn't reacted when Edgar shouted at Labit, asking why Putai was dead. Boom, boom, boom. The bell of death echoed unceasingly in Gay, Meiji, and Emperor C. Shark's heads. They changed their countenances while attacking Labit. The stream of their energy was interrupted, and they couldn't maintain their attacks anymore. Labit seized the chance and turned into a jet of black light, returning to the dark abyss. From a distance, he pointed at Shi Yin while talking. Edgar, brother, Shi Yin killed Putai. He's the heir Bloodthirsty had chosen. He killed Putai and got all of his power Upanishads. He wants to kill our ancestor too. Edgar had a dark green skin, his face twitching. He pulled the void, and the blood of the dead creatures on those planets was drawn instantly. A blood pond congregated in front of Edgar, the dazzling red hue looking like some bizarre but magnificent gemstone. Edgar panted like an enraged beast while pointing his finger at Shi Yin. The blood pond generated a hoarse scream, then turned into a massive, gory serpent with the power of death and destruction. It crawled as the mysterious patterns on its body gathered the negative emotions, including fear, wild, and brutality in this world. Xian He, Frederick, and Ming Hao clutched their chest while groaning, their faces ashen. As the serpent gazed at them, they were immediately flooded with thick, negative energy. Shortly, they felt their souls occupied. It was similar to the time their master Bloodthirsty had taught them lessons. Edgar, the expert that had suddenly appeared, had the death, destruction, and chaos power Upanishads that were even stronger than Bloodthirsty. Strictly speaking, Edgar was the high-level creature Devour had created directly. If Desolate had exerted a lot of efforts to create Bloodthirsty, Devour had used his blood as the foundation to give life to Edgar, imparting him the power Upanishads and making him the chief of the Devouring clan. Edgar wasn't the first generation of the Devouring clan, but he was the one who had boosted the Devouring clan to the equal position with the other 6 big clans. As he had reached the territory ancestor realm without the devouring power Upanishad, it was enough to show how fierce he was. In the sea domain of nihility, Edgar was known as the god of death, the appearance of evil in this world. Wherever he passed, the life stars were destroyed, and lives were reaped. He didn't even leave a single tuft of grass. He was death as he absorbed the energy of all living things. He had fused the death, destruction, and chaos together, cultivating them to the profound level. In the sea domain of nihility, Edgar was a fearsome character. Even Montesi and Hero, his peers, didn't want to provoke this man because Edgar was a real mad dog. When he got his nerves stimulated, he didn't have a bit of consciousness left in him. It was the side effect of the rampage power Upanishad. The bloody, massive serpent carried the 3 power Upanishads. It opened the red blood mouth on the several thousand meters long body that looked like a massive tree trunk. While moving, the serpent continually released the power of brutality, evil, and destruction. Xian He, Frederick, and Ming Hao were baffled for seconds. Then they had to retreat. They couldn't endure it. De Carlos and the others also recognized that they couldn't stand such negative attacks. They had to retreat, not standing next to Shi Yin anymore. After seconds, only one person stood by Shi Yin. It was Audrey. Although she was only at the first sky of Immortal realm, she looked at the serpent, her eyes cold and clear while shooting a cold light. The soul-refining cauldron arose from the crown of her head. The cauldron turned as big as the sky, shielding her. Billions of absolute, beginning symbols wiggled on the cauldron. Those symbols were like ghosts swimming in a river, emitting a cold vibe. Shi Yin looked surprised as he lifted his head to see the absolute beginning symbols moving around the soul-refining cauldron. They were the soul and spirit symbols which created the magical and mysterious formations. Go. Billions of absolute beginning symbols created by the brutal soul, ghosts, and departed souls had become one like the young birds returning to the nest and attacked the giant serpent. Boom, boom. Pieces of souls shattered in the rumbling, earth-shaking explosions. The brutal souls turned into gray smoke. However, the serpent's head was smashed flat, and the meandering patterns on its skin dimmed. Soul-refining cauldron. It's Neptune's soul-refining cauldron. Edgar screamed furiously. The soul-refining cauldron? So what? Neptune didn't dare to fight me even if he had the cauldron. You're just a small warrior at the first sky of Immortal realm. You think you can use the soul-refining cauldron to resist me? Ridiculous. Right, I'm not his opponent, Audrey muttered. Shi Yin turned to her, seeing 2 trickles of blood running down the corners of her mouth. The blood trickles ran like snakes on her snow-white neck, which was somehow horrible to see. Audrey's eyes dimmed. This attack had hurt her badly. She couldn't fight anymore. Rest well. Don't force yourself. Shi Yin comforted her. He rose one hand, sending an ivory-white seal, which then turned into an ancient life symbol, to Audrey's body. It was his vitality to recover her wounds. Stars break. He turned back to Edgar while grinning. Right next to the serpent, a barren planet responded to him. Its nucleus cracked, blasting frantically. The massive serpent was covered in the energy of the star's explosion. It was shattered instantly into pieces in front of everyone, beams of energy shooting everywhere. Edgar shook, his crazy face fearful. You fused with desolates will to become the temporary master of this territory. That's how you can control the stars here. Stars move. Shi Yin slightly closed his eyes, focusing on urging the star power Upanishad and using the soul to control the world and the stars within this territory. Many planets with living creatures quickly left this place while the barren planets without lives came one after another. Dozens of stars aligned behind him like a massive, shining lantern. Then, he began to speak. If it were another arena and not this desolate territory, I would have no chance of surviving in a fight with you. Edgar's eyes became lucid as he tried to press his flame of anger due to Pu Tai's death. He had to solve this seriously. But, we're in desolate territory. This is my territory. I can move the stars and control the natural powers. I can even change the principle in a short time. Shi Yin wore a cold and calm face while talking. It's not easy to kill me here. You can try. Let's see whether you can break the principle in another's territory or not at the second sky of Territory Ancestor Realm. You little devil, since when have you mastered a lying skill like that? A charming voice came from a light, which was just as big as a fingernail. However, afterward, it swelled rapidly until it was the size of a room. A magnificent 7-colored crystal lotus throne arose. Xiao wore an amethyst long dress, sitting on the lotus throne, her eyes radiant with bright light. Tian Xie, the chiefs of many clans, the elders of the God Clan's Elder Committee, Lina of the Heavenly River Temple, and Gu Lian of the Thousand Fantasy Sect, along with many experts, emerged behind her. There was one warrior whose appearance surprised Shi Yin the most. It was Cecilia. Cecilia had accompanied him while they were on Desolate. They used to have some romantic moments too. She stood by her teacher Lina, her face upset. She looked both sorrowful and reluctant. Cecilia also had a small, dark green snake on her forehead, Xiao's crest. All the warriors under Ziyao's commands had this mark. It was the proof of sending her the soul seal and becoming her slaves. All of them had submitted to Ziyao. Their lives and souls were tied to Ziyao. Once she was dead, they wouldn't survive either. Ziyao brought her subordinates from the ancient God Star area here. As soon as she emerged, Hero and Montesi looked shocked. They exchanged looks and stopped confining Devour, returning to Shi Yan's side. The energy on her body is stronger than Devour. If I'm not wrong, she must be the other absolute beginning creature you've mentioned, right? Montesi said, her eyes stern. Shi Yan sighed inwardly, giving her a slight nod. Hero, Montesi, Gay, Meiji, and Emperor Sea Shark returned to Shi Yan's sides, separating them from Edgar in the Dark Abyss and Ziyao's team. The air of this area suddenly became quite strange. You, after all, are you her? Shi Yan turned to Ziyao. After a while, he suddenly shouted. Ziyao smiled, her glamour being no less than Meiji. Perhaps she could defeat the other when talking about charming demeanor. Her bright eyes had ripples of light. I'm sure she's me. And I can be her. But I perhaps am not her. It depends on your actions. What do you want? I don't want anything but my power. I want my things back. All right. The power Upanishad symbol tower you got belongs to me. You should return it to me too. I brought Brian and Minghao there in the hope that they could bring it back to me. Unexpectedly, you got it instead. Ziyao smiled, extending one of her fulgent, jade-like hands. Give it back to me? Boom. Shi Yan felt thunderclaps booming hard in his head as billions of light rays bloomed. The power Upanishad symbol tower was stimulated, trying to escape from his brain and return to Ziyao's hand. Everybody turned aghast. Chapter 1492. Chapter 1492. The dialogue between the absolute beginning creatures. Shi Yan got the power Upanishad symbol tower from a vestige on the seabed of the Sea of Annihilation. It was an absolute beginning vestige that hid the secrets and glory of that era. Currently, their glorious time was gone, and many absolute beginning creatures had fallen. The small numbers of the remaining absolute beginning creatures had secluded themselves, rarely showing up. Ziyao was a clone of the absolute beginning creature Hui. She was the materialization of Hui's spirit, will, and soul. That year, she had brought Ming Hao and Brian to the absolute beginning vestige undersea with the hope of taking back the power Upanishad symbol tower. She had laid a wisp of her soul seal in the power Upanishad symbol tower. That seal had the same aura as her soul. She could use it to control the power Upanishad symbol tower. Give it back to me. Ziyao's voice was gentle and charming like a sweet little lover. People who heard her would unconsciously follow her. Her attractive voice. Why is it so similar to our Phantom clan? Meiji's face slightly changed. She had a strange feeling when she saw Ziyao. It seemed like Ziyao had a magical connection with the Phantom clan's enchanting technique. The women from the Phantom clan were born with the gift of mind or enchanting secret techniques. It wasn't a power Upanishad, but something magical that existed in their souls. At this moment, Ziyao's voice was much similar to when they used the mind or charming techniques. Shi Yan wore a stiff face. Many thunderclaps were booming and reverberating in his head. The power Upanishad symbol tower slowly flew out of his soul altar, getting away from his control. The power Upanishad symbol tower had a snake soul seal that was hidden deep inside the power Upanishad symbol tower. Shi Yan had never seen it before. At this moment, that soul seal appeared following Ziyao's voice. It drew the power Upanishad symbol tower, heading toward her hand. Ziyao's seducing voice had attracted his soul, troubling him from concentrating to control the power Upanishad symbol tower. The power Upanishad symbol tower slowly enlarged as it emerged from Shi Yan's head, flying toward Ziyao. Hero, Edgar, and Montesi had their eyes brightened. They were mesmerized as they gazed at the power Upanishad symbol tower. Hero and Montesi were hesitant. They were afraid that they would wound Shi Yan, so they didn't dare to take any rash action. Edgar didn't mind it that much. His eyes glowed with a basil green light like a savage wolf seeing its prey. He didn't care why Hui was here, raising his hand to snatch the power Upanishad symbol tower. The blood hand shadowed the sky, bringing the power of death, destruction, and chaos as it aimed at the power Upanishad symbol tower. A tricolored vortex spun in the middle of the hand. It was black, blood red, and gray. A terrifying suction force appeared like a giant snake opening its mouth to suck the air, drawing in all lives, souls, and god power of creatures in the surrounding areas. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The strong blast of wind entered that blood hand. The power Upanishad symbol tower was now a massive kite swaying in the air, as if it was tied to two lines at the same time. Sometimes it was pulled toward Ziyao, and in the next moment it headed to Edgar. Abruptly, Edgar and Ziyao were vying for the power Upanishad symbol tower. Edgar, your ancestor taught you rules, didn't he? Ziyao was intercepted, so her beautiful face began to frost. I know your ancestor has asked you to take the power Upanishad symbol tower, but if I don't help it with its current condition, do you think it can deal with them? Dare to compete with me. You don't know right and wrong. I don't know what my ancestor has discussed with you, but I know he really needs the power Upanishad symbol tower. Edgar's eyes were cold and harsh. So, I have to get it. No matter who will be my enemy, I will take it. Montesi was surprised. Then, she sniggered, her little face happy. Just let them bite each other. Hiro also wanted to get involved in that competition for the power Upanishad symbol tower, but he was afraid that he would offend Shi Yan. He hesitated and didn't advance. Seeing Edgar suddenly interrupt Ziyao, he could finally relax. Shi Yan's sea of consciousness was intruded by Ziyao's charming technique. At this moment, he was trying to cut off the evil thought in his sea of consciousness. He didn't have extra efforts left to do anything. Thick mist rolled out of the dark abyss behind Edgar while waves of blood scent came with the mist. Devour was doing something. Finally, you guys have come. Labit sounded relieved, his voice coming from the dark abyss. Then, a group of devouring clansmen emerged from the dark abyss. Most of them had profound realms at the immortal realm, and the lowest realm was the first sky of incipient god realm. There was also a guy who had just reached the territory ancestor realm like Labit. Devour had summoned them from the sea domain of nihility to this desolate territory. There were around 100 of them, giving Edgar a strong backup. As soon as they appeared, they turned to greet the dark abyss using their tribal language. Then, they focused their soul consciousness to supply energy to Devour. Slowly, the dark abyss changed as it was receiving energy from the others. A brutal, wild roar of some beast from the chaotic time of the world arose from the dark abyss, shaking everybody in this area. Edgar was pulling the power Upanishad symbol tower from Ziyao, his face happy and laughing, our ancestors calling his real body. Wait until he comes. Let's see what you have to vie with us then. True body? Xin He, Ming Hao, and Frederick were stunned. They became skeptical. Isn't that dark abyss Devour's real body? When Ziyao heard Edgar, her face changed for the first time. She rolled her eyes at the dark abyss. You dare to take your body out here? Aren't you afraid of vanishing in this place? If it finally merges all the clones within its territory, you and I, or anybody else will be refined. We can't even run to the end of the void. It will hunt us down and eat us up. Ruorer. A roar which conveyed some meanings using the absolute beginning language arose from the dark abyss, echoing around the ancient demon star area. As Ziyao was distracted, Shi Yan had finally cut off the evil thought in his head. At this moment, he immediately understood the meaning on hearing the roar. You and I had struck it hard, and its body was divided into 5 parts. Now, some of its parts have fused with other individuals. It will never be recovered fully. That was what that roar conveyed. Only the ones who understood the absolute beginning language could get the message of that roar. Ziyao was a clone of Hui, so she could understand it easily. Besides her, only Shi Yan could do that. Since Audrey hadn't fused completely with the origin, she just felt familiar and got some words of it. The power Upanishad symbol tower should belong to me. Do you really want to vie for it against me? Ziyao shouted indignantly. Ruer. The roar resounded from the dark abyss again. Phantom had built the Power Upanishad symbol tower, not you. It should belong to the Phantom clan. The Phantom clan was born from Phantom's fragments when she died. How could the Power Upanishad symbol tower belong to you? Shi Yin understood what Devour was talking, but the others didn't. He was stunned, turning to look at Montesi and Meiji. He knew the origin of the Phantom clan now. It turned out that there was another absolute beginning creature called Phantom. After she died, the Phantom clan was created. She was the ancestor, the soul and flesh of the Phantom clan. Phantom had built the Power Upanishad symbol tower, so it should belong to the Phantom clan. Phantom and I were like sisters. I had contributed a lot of precious materials to build the tower. I'm the co-owner. She is gone, so it should belong to me. If you dare to vie for it, I won't satisfy you. Ziyao used the absolute beginning language to reply to Devour. Some of the warriors here knew the absolute beginning written language like Montesi or Hero. However, they didn't understand the spoken language. They didn't know what was going on to react properly. You've got a clone of Desolate, so you should understand the absolute beginning language. What are they talking about? Montesi turned to Shi Yin, who answered instinctively. They're talking about your origin, about your ancestor. The Power Upanishad symbol tower belongs to you guys. The warriors of the Phantom clan were stunned on hearing him. Montesi and Meiji had a sparkling light in their eyes. Tell us more details. Montesi hissed. They said that your ancestors called Phantom. After she was gone, her soul and flesh became the Phantom clan. They also said that Phantom had fabricated the Power Upanishad symbol tower, explained Shi Yin. Montesi's and Meiji's soft bodies trembled slightly. They didn't know their origin. They didn't know how the Phantom clan was created, neither anything about their ancestor until today. Finally, they knew that the ancestor of the Phantom clan was also an absolute beginning creature called Phantom. She had even fabricated the Power Upanishad symbol tower. Ahaha. Turns out the Power Upanishad symbol tower belongs to our Phantom clan. It's our possession. Montesi gritted her teeth. Her face grimaced. She urged Shi Yin again. Why did our ancestor Phantom die? Listen carefully, please. We want to know the details. Do you think you can take the Power Upanishad symbol tower using your true body? Don't forget that half of my true body's here too. If you dare to come, I can still suppress you. Ziyao was filled with the flames of anger. The void was torn in the center of the ancient god continent, revealing the chaotic space basin. 6 massive snakes were discernible, half of their bodies connected to the ancient god continent. Explosions echoed deafeningly. As the mountains cracked and collapsed, a bunch of giant snakes crawled out of the ground. The snakes hissed at the voice as if they wanted to scare some creature away from this area. The space passage was cracked open above the god zenith on the ancient god continent. People could vaguely see the scenes happening on the ancient demon continent. It seemed that as long as the ancient demon continent had some commotion, half of Huey's real body could come from the chaotic space basin and join with the other half on the ancient god continent. Then, they could come to the ancient demon continent at any minute. Chapter 1493. I saw that I died. Chapter 1493. I saw that I died. In a corner of the ancient god star area, 7 suns were burning brightly. The magnificent red-orange flames on them were like fish scales moving in water. A small space floated in the center of the 7 suns, in between the levitating flames. A ferocious beast slowly moved inside the current of lava. Its belly made a boop-boop sound as if it was burning fierily. The 7 blazing suns sent the furious flames toward that beast and quenched its body. The beast looked like a scorching, red iron. It was Ghost Hunter in its bestial body. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. It sank into the rapid lava current as the acid fluid inside the stomach was melting Pu Tai's body to take in the remainder of Bloodthirsty's aura in Pu Tai's body. It roared earth-shakingly, which stimulated the flames. The 7 suns exploded at the same time. After the suns were shattered, a space tear emerged, 2 ancient continents flying out of it. They were the desolate and ancient demon continent. The sky was filled with the shooting flames from the broken suns. With such a background, the two continents magically merged together like two drops of water. After less than 10 seconds, the two ancient continents became one, turning into a massive, dazzling planet. Ghost Hunter swelled and doubled his size. His bestial body moved above the ancient continent to absorb the immensely abundant heaven and earth energy there. The life energy in his body accumulated and fluctuated incredibly, and his eyes changed slowly. They weren't savage anymore, and had become calm and archaic like a prominent wise, old man or a sage. He gave people an impression of a person with a deep and wide knowledge. Waves of blinding light emerged from the beast. Slowly, he transfigured into his human form. He was still Ghost Hunter, who somehow took after Yin. However, his aura was mysterious and profound, his eyes like deep lakes that people could never gauge in terms of the mysteries they kept. He turned toward a direction and flew away. The massive continent that had just formed followed him closely like his shadow. On another sun, Godlord Brian looked stern. 5 colored flames shot out of his eyes as he was having some magical transformation. Brian had the Immortal realm cultivation base with the dark energy, being just one small step away from the territory ancestor realm. At this moment, he was fusing the heaven flames for the last time to activate the seal of Desolate's clone in his sea of consciousness. It would help him understand the absolute beginning language and something marvelous of that era. 10,000 years ago, he got the ability to fuse the heaven flames. However, he had hesitated and didn't make that step. He wasn't so sure that he would still be himself if he took that step. He was afraid that Desolate's clone would possess him. Thus, he had hesitated for 10,000 years, not daring to try. He had laid his hope in Yin, waiting to see what would happen to him. While they were on the seabed of the Sea of Annihilation, his soul and Audrey's soul had fused with Desolate's clone in Yin. They had all survived, and nothing unexpected happened. Moreover, Audrey got the soul-refining cauldron, while he got the dark energy. Yin had also received big benefits. He thought that if he finally fused all the heaven flames, the error wouldn't happen like he had thought. Thus, he now started his final fusion. The 5-colored, magnificent flames mingled with each other in his sea of consciousness. His soul was light, floating through the past and present, sinking in the river of time. He was just a bystander watching a terrifying battle. This scale of battle should belong to the absolute beginning era. It was the war between the absolute beginning creatures. He could see many pieces of memory from one of the 5 clones of Desolate. Although the images he got weren't complete, they were parts of the history of that era when he had fused with the heaven flames and the origin of the Grace mainland. Time flew hurriedly. Vaguely, it seemed so long, but short like a blink of an eye at the same time. He didn't actually have any concept of time. He woke up, his eyes puzzled. Right after that, he seemed to realize something magical, and his expression changed. Lifting his head, he faced the sky. Something had shaded the sun. He focused and found a massive planet. From that planet, he could feel an old but very powerful aura that he couldn't resist. That aura, he used to sense it. It was Desolate's aura. Ghost Hunter plunged from that continent, landing by him. Brian was frightened as a strong vibe came from deep in his soul. It was a desperate feeling from when the apocalypse had happened. He had the consciousness of Desolate in his soul, so he knew who this Ghost Hunter standing in front of him was. In my world, there shouldn't be a new territory ancestor. Otherwise, my world will be divided, and my strength will be split up. Ghost Hunter looked at him indifferently. His face had the expression that shouldn't appear on a human, looking extremely nonchalant. After Bloodthirsty had reached the territory ancestor realm, you also joined that bloody battle. You still didn't get it, did you? Ghost Hunter spoke in absolute beginning language. Brian understood clearly. He was dazed for a while, then he ran away as soon as he realized something suddenly. As you've completely fused with my clone and a part of my soul, you're predestined to be killed, said Ghost Hunter, his face cold. Every 10,000 years, I gave away a Genesis fruit. I hoped the one who got it could merge all of my clones into one. Unfortunately, no one succeeded. The chosen one this time has a high success rate. But I didn't estimate that Hui and Devour would be awakened. I didn't give him more time to do that. It's really begrudging that I have to take action earlier than planned. Although I will have to lose part of my power, I don't have any other options around. Ghost Hunter opened his arms, his hands towering the entire sky. Billions of holy rays tied Brian's soul and destiny like a cage. You're a loser. If you had succeeded that year, there wouldn't have been many troubles like that. Ghost Hunter spoke coldly. Then, he opened his mouth and inhaled. Brian was like a frozen, tiny person. The light refined him and dragged him into Ghost Hunter's mouth. You were born in my world. From the moment you were born, you got my soul seal. How could you rebel against me? Swish. Brian had turned into a streak of light, disappearing into Ghost Hunter's mouth. Ghost Hunter flashed and reappeared on the ancient continent above his head. That ancient continent moved strangely inside the ancient God Star area, heading toward the ancient God continent of the God Clan. Listen and tell us what they're talking about. I want to know the origin of our Phantom Clan and why our ancestor died. Monesi asked Shi Yin to listen carefully. Shi Yin frowned. He listened to her and eavesdropped at the conversation between Devour and Ziyao. He was different from Brian. After fusing completely with the Heaven Flames, the origin, he could see some events in the Absolute Beginning era and could understand the Absolute Beginning language. However, he still didn't know about the conflict between those Absolute Beginning creatures. He knew 1/5 of what Desolate had experienced. They were just missing pieces of a whole picture, which didn't help him much. It was like he got only a piece of a 5-piece picture. He couldn't know what that picture was about. As long as he gathered all the pieces, he could know about the full contents. Oh! Shi Yin suddenly screamed in fear, his face pale. He put a hand on his forehead while mumbling, I don't know why I feel extremely insecure, like something very terrible has happened. This feeling had come unknowingly, and it was hard to explain. It was the instinctive feeling that came from deep inside his soul. Ah! Audrey screamed from behind him. She was clutching her head, her eyes panic-stricken as if she had seen something very horrible. She shook her head and screamed ear-piercingly, Don't come here! Don't come here! It seemed like she was tortured by her nightmare. What's wrong? Are you okay? Adele screamed. I saw that I died. I saw someone kill me. Audrey yelled like she was suffering from some serious mental disease. She didn't have any color on her face. It's like I foresaw something that would happen in the near future. It's so scary. Shi Yin darkened his face. He walked to Audrey, lowering his voice, In your nightmare? Who killed you? Ghost Hunter. It's Ghost Hunter who had killed me. Audrey shook her head helplessly. Godlord Brian was killed. I'm sure he was killed. I saw Ghost Hunter kill and then eat him. You're just tired. You should rest first. You got a nightmare in daylight. It seems you've borne a lot of pressure these days. Adele tried to comfort her. No, it's not a dream. Montesi, who cultivated time power Upanishad, intervened. What she saw will happen soon. She's a soul clone of Desolate. She has Desolate's seal in her soul, so she can vaguely get what Desolate has calculated. Montesi turned to Shi Yin, then pondered, then said, Before that man appeared, I had felt strange. I think it doesn't look like a beast. Now that I have heard from Audrey, I'm sure he's Desolate. He got the thought of killing Audrey, and she could feel that because she has a part of its soul in her head. It's like the connection between your host soul and the co-soul. You can exchange thought and plans. Audrey can get its ideas that way too. Shi Yin, you've made another step ahead of Audrey. You've completely fused with one of its soul clones. If Audrey can feel something, what about you? Minghao asked. Xian He, Frederick, and the others turned toward him, their faces uncontrollably stern. I could only feel that something terrible is about to happen. But it's not clear like Audrey. I don't know why. Shi Yin squinted as a terrifying fear churned in his heart. He had never thought that Desolate would possess Ghost Hunter. Ghost Hunter, Ghost Hunter. Did he develop the magical relationship with Desolate because he had swallowed Song Yun? Or was he a piece on its chessboard right from the beginning? Is he the perfect creature Desolate had used the second essence drop of its blood to create after Bloodthirsty? Chapter 1494. The True Body Arrives. Chapter 1494. The True Body Arrives. At the end of the void where space rolled and shattered, so many wrecked battleships and corpses were floating and drifting around. It was an ancient battlefield. Until today, this place was still an abandoned place. Even the territory ancestor realm experts from the 7 great clans didn't dare to wander in this area. It was at the edge of the sea domain of Nihility, a spot that had layers of corpses, battleships, and broken stars suddenly shook fiercely for a while. A beast roar came from that spot, which people had never heard before. Billions of light beams boomed, and an absolute beginning creature emerged in all this commotion. It was as big as a whole planet, with innumerable tentacles. At first glance, that absolute beginning creature resembled a giant octopus that had been zoomed billions of times. From some aspects, it looked like a massive leech with tentacles and suckers. When it wiggled its massive body, space around twisted as if it could collapse at any minute. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Thick darkness multiplied under this ink-black creature, creating a deep abyss. It slowly sank, disappearing into that abyss of darkness. As soon as it disappeared, the ancient battlefield where it had hidden for so many years exploded immediately. The bestial roaring thundered unceasingly from the dark abyss in the ancient demon star area. The 1,000-meter-long tentacles jutted out of the abyss, wriggling and twisting their way you. The members of the devouring clan like Edgar and Labit were full of admiration and respect. They pressed their foreheads on those suckers like children receiving love from their parents. They looked happy and satisfied. Welcome, Ancestor. Welcome, Ancestor. Welcome, Ancestor. Edgar, Labit, and all other members of the devouring clan cheered wholeheartedly, their faces filled with joy. Shi Yin felt chilled. He suddenly realized that the entire world was frozen by some evil power. And, although he was the master of this star area, Shi Yin had lost his control. His face changed drastically. When he heard Edgar and the others cheering, he knew that the horrible incident had happened. Devour's real body has arrived at the dark abyss. It's complete now. The moment the tentacles stretched outward from the dark abyss, Montesi and Hero knew that it wasn't good. They stopped talking, their faces solemn, especially Montesi and Hero. After a while, Hero sighed. What a powerful life magnetic field. Yeah, that's the absolute beginning creature which has lived for billions of years. No matter what they've experienced, their life form and level are the most terrifying. Montesi was also surprised, nodding her head. I got it. Hero's eyes brightened. The dark abyss is just the brain of Devour's body. It's like his territory. What has just arrived is his real body. He's complete now. His energy fluctuations are more intimidating than Edgar's. Desolate and Hui had joined hands and fought against Desolate, who was divided into 5 pieces. Devour and Hui were hurt severely, and then they all went dormant. Shi Yin remembered the images he got in his head, talking gloomily, but Devour hasn't recovered its strength fully now. Hasn't recovered fully? Montesi looked bitter. He dares come here. However, at this moment, Ziya was enraged. Her beautiful face looked as though she had a flame on it. Her pretty pupils had 9 brilliant rainbows. Roar! The beast roared crazily from Ziyao's body, no less brutal and evil than Devour. Right above Ziyao, a massive snakehead swayed through the space slit and broke it. 12 snakes, Huey's true body, were coming while bringing its wrath. They wanted to take the Power Upanishad symbol tower and arrive at this desolate territory to fight Devour. The Power Upanishad symbol tower is used to refine the absolute beginning original symbol. It's really magical and precious, but it's just a tower, and the 2 absolute beginning creatures even want to fight with their real bodies? Don't you think they are making a scene? Meiji was shaken. She didn't care about the others anymore as she clutched Shi Yin, her face surprised. After she had reached the territory ancestor realm, Meiji was more deliberate. She didn't care about what the others might think anymore. Perhaps the Power Upanishad symbol tower has something magical we don't know yet. Otherwise, Devour and Hui wouldn't need to fight like that. Shi Yin was puzzled as well. He thought that when he obtained the Grace Mainland's origin completely, he could understand the absolute beginning language to decode the Power Upanishad symbol tower. But it wasn't that simple. He had fused with one soul clone of Desolate and finally understood the absolute beginning language, becoming able to read the tadpole symbols. However, he hadn't found the secrets of the tower yet. It seemed that there was something stopped him from knowing the secret. He guessed that it should be something really big. Phantom and I had to endure so many obstacles to create this key. To make it, we had to pay a lot. Phantom has fallen, perhaps because of this tower. You dare to take things belong to me. No matter what, I will let you know my power. Xiao became frantic all of a sudden, screaming in absolute beginning language. Amidst her screams, many massive snakes appeared in the void. Hui's body was in the ancient god star area to refine the ancient god continent. Since Devour had brought its real body here, she couldn't help but tear the space to arrive as well. This star area became completely chaotic because of the two absolute beginning creatures. Shi Yin had fused with the origin of the Grace Mainland. In this star area, he was affected, so he couldn't use the power from the planets anymore. He had recognized that the ancient demon star area couldn't endure it, even though the two beasts hadn't fought yet. Key? Shi Yin was startled when he got the keyword from the two's dialogue. Finally, he could confirm that the Power Upanishad symbol tower wasn't only used to create the absolute beginning original symbol. It was also a crucial key. But Hui and Devour hadn't mentioned the function of this key. What are they talking about? Asked Hero and Montesi. Nothing important. They're just quarreling. He didn't want to share the information about the key with Montesi and Hero. Shi Yin. The little skeleton hadn't said anything since the beginning. At this moment, it came and looked at Shi Yin, his eyes begging. Hero and Gay reacted, and the former said, "How are you doing? You got a lot of energy already. Is it enough to awaken our precursors?" Shi Yin nodded toward Gay in response, who used his power to make the two coffins fly over, ceasing right in front of Shi Yin. At this moment, Hero and Gay had observed the situation and found that everything had turned beyond their control. They didn't know if the White Bone clan could receive any benefit from this. Thus, if they could achieve the goal of this trip a little earlier, they could retreat shortly and easily. The members of the White Bone clan opened their eyes wide, yearning and waiting. Shi Yin pondered for a while, and then ignored the quarrel between Hui and Devour, talking, "Let me try." The black holes of the devouring power Upanishad in his acupuncture points were stirred up as he willed. They were like fierce furnaces that sent the mysterious rolling energy from his acupuncture points to his incipient extent. The light ball created by his life power Upanishad was sucking the energy quickly. Shortly, the absolute beginning original symbol inside the life ball, an amber source of life, was brimming with an incredible vitality. Shi Yin held his breath, rolling his eyes. He used the absolute beginning language, hissing, surging vitality. Boom! Two flows of sea-like vitality gushed out of his eyes. That sort of energy was ivory-colored and crystal clear, which could create lives and nurture every creature. The abundant vitality was poured into the two skeletons inside the coffins, which were ash-gray and didn't look shiny, seeming about to decay soon. Receiving the life energy, the skeletons glowed slowly. Light dots like the fireflies flashed inside the skeletons. It seemed that their flame of soul had been ignited one more time. The light dots moved slowly and stopped in their skulls, entering the soul altars. Thump, 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 thump. Although the life energy in them was feeble, Shi Yin could hear the heartbeat clearly. Hero, who was at the second sky of Immortal realm, sensed it immediately and screamed in thrill. "It has worked." The little skeleton had tears in his eyes. His bony arms stroked his parents' bodies, speaking in the ancient language of the White Bone clan. Father, mother. At the same time, on the ancient god continent, because the heaven snakes of Hui's body had continually sucked the energy of the continent, The ancient god continent had only the ash-gray gas hovering in the atmosphere. There were no creatures on this planet. The mountains collapsed and the rivers dried. Without a minute's sign of life, it was a barren, isolated planet. There were several life stars around where dwelled the 12 families of the God Clan. They lived there to guard the ancient god continent. All of them had the green snake mark on their foreheads. They had a new master now. Hui was now their goddess mother. They had lost their faith and betrayed their bloodline. At this moment, Charlint of the Charteris family was cultivating on a life star when his heart suddenly beat frantically. He couldn't help but lift his head to look at the high sky while mumbling, "Why do I feel like a culpa's about to come? This feeling comes from deep in my soul, but it's really magical." He was not the only one who had that feeling. The ones whom Ziyao had asked to guard this area were also frightened unknowingly. It was like a shadow had shrouded their soul altar, pressing their soul and making them insecure. A great planet came with so many clusters of clouds, shadowing the entire ancient god continent. Charlint and everybody else were frightened. They walked out of their life stars, watching the colossal planet in fear. Huey's body had just left. She had sent her soul message through the snake mark on her subordinates to make them watch over the ancient god continent. After just a second, something really bad was about to happen. The warriors who stayed here like Charlint were insecure, looking at that planet when a shadow slowly came into their vision. It was Ghost Hunter. As soon as he emerged, his eyes showed his cold and resolute intention. "We can hide your souls, but it can't erase the mark I've left inside you. Unless it has finished the ancient god continent, the mark will still work. Too bad for you guys that I've had Brian and the soul clone of the ancient god continent. So, you low people who have betrayed me once, you've been predestined to be erased." Thousands of magical light rays rained from the sky like sharp daggers, piercing through Charlint's and the others' soul altars. Everyone with the snake mark on their foreheads was killed instantly. Not long after Huey's body was gone, the ancient god continent, after billions of years apart, had finally returned to desolate. Chapter 1495. The Day the Star Area Ends. Chapter 1495. The Day the Star Area Ends. The two ash-gray skeletons inside the coffins slowly had a fulgent light emitting from them. Vitality could be detected inside their skulls. The little skeleton had tears in his eyes, holding his parents' hands while crying inaudibly. Hero's eyes were red as well. "Even though we didn't get anything from desolate territory, it's enough that they're finally awakened. Congratulations. The White Bone Clan will have 2 more territory ancestor realm experts. The White Bone Clan will thrive faster now." Montesi congratulated sincerely. Hero and the White Bone Clan members were joyful, nodding excitedly. Shi Yin stood still, his eyes closed while the energy on his body moved unceasingly. Suddenly, he opened his eyes, looking at Ming Hao, Xian He, and Frederick. "Your chance is coming." Ming Hao, Xian He, and Frederick were thrilled. They knew what Shi Yin meant. They immediately prepared to receive the energy from him. "That power Upanishad symbol tower," Meiji said skeptically. At this moment, the power Upanishad symbol tower was floating between Hui and the dark abyss. Ziyao was sitting on the head of a massive snake, her face cold, her eyes radiant. Tianxie and the others hovered behind that snake, struggling with the Devouring Clan. On the Devouring Clan side, Edgar, Labit, and the others were surrounding the dark abyss. The two energies, one was the 9-colored outer space divine light, and the other was a column of dark light, were coiling around the power Upanishad symbol tower, pulling and tugging. Hui and Devour vied for the power Upanishad symbol tower, but they didn't ignite the battle. They didn't use their lives to fight, as it seemed that they were both afraid of something. They didn't mind Shi Yan's team much. To them, the power Upanishad symbol tower was the most important thing. Meiji screamed as she wanted to ask if Shi Yan wanted to join that competition for the power Upanishad symbol tower. Anyway, the power Upanishad symbol tower had a connection with him and his co-soul. As Shi Yan was about to answer her, he felt his soul shaking hard. He then turned to Audrey. Audrey was shivering, sweat beading her forehead. It was like she was having a nightmare, and the darkness had shrouded her one more time. She was panicked beyond words. He suddenly recognized a terrifying threat that had risen and expanded like the tide. He pondered, then talked to Hero and Montesi. We should get back to the Grace mainland first. I am giving the Power Upanishad symbol tower up. I feel quite insecure right now. Hero and Montesi turned to Audrey as if they could also feel that horrible terror. Montesi cried, "Has it awakened?" "It has woken up." Yin forced a smile. Audrey saw Brian being killed. "It means it's taking action. Because Audrey, Brian, and I have a soul connection, I know it has started to take action. Since Hui and Devour are in its territory, they don't know yet." Everybody was terrified. In one's territory, there was no chance to defeat him. Yan's presumption had frightened everybody else. Without hesitation, they nodded as they knew that the situation would be unfavorable. "We should return to the Grace mainland first. Then, we have to move the Grace mainland out of here," Yin resolutely said, and everybody nodded in agreement. While Devour and Hui were still vying for the Power Upanishad symbol tower, Yin, Hero, Montesi, and the others had forcefully torn the space barriers to leave the ancient demon continent. They urged the Power Upanishads, using the maximum speed to enter the Agate Star area and Grace mainland. "Yin, are you going to move the Grace mainland out of desolate territory?" When Xia Xian Yin and Fu Wei got to know of Yan's intention, they were scared out of their wits. They thought that he was crazy. "I don't have time to explain carefully. The Grace mainland must leave desolate territory as fast as possible. Otherwise, it will be the biggest calamity ever." Yin looked worried. He thought, then asked Ming Hao and DeCarlos, "You've mastered Space Power Upanishad. I'm giving you 4 hours. You must bring all the warriors who have a good relationship with us to the Grace mainland. We're in a rush. I hope you can do that as fast as you can." "Yin, can you tell us what's going on? What will happen to desolate territory?" Blood Devil and Yang Tian Emperor changed their countenances. Checking Audrey, Yin tried to find the premonition in his soul. He took a deep breath and then said, "Desolate will destroy this world to gather energy. All creatures in this desolate territory have taken in the heaven and earth energy. So, the stronger they are, the more energy they have used. When Desolate was separated, it couldn't do that. But now, it has woken up. All the warriors born in desolate territory are parts of its power. In the past, it wouldn't do that. But now, it needs a lot of energy to fight Devour and Hui. It's possible that it will annihilate this entire world to gather energy." Yin only had a vague feeling, which wasn't really clear. Normal people wouldn't be killed because they didn't absorb the heaven and earth energy. Hence, Desolate won't aim at them. It wants warriors. The stronger the warriors are, the harder it will be to escape. Yang Tian Emperor, Blood Devil, Xian He, Ming Hao, and DeCarlos were chilled from fear. "If I'm not wrong, it has started now. Today, it's slaughtering the ancient God Star area." Yin took a deep breath and shouted, "We don't have much time. You guys, scatter and take action. I know the Grace mainland has many teleportation formations. Every warrior with Space Power Upanishad should activate them all. Bring the ones who have a good relationship with us here. Hurry up." DeCarlos and Ming Hao exchanged looks, then turned into jets of light and disappeared. Ming Hao had prepared to receive energy from Yin, but now, he didn't care that much, immediately flying away. "All of you, go," Yin urged. Xia Xian Yin, Yang Tian Emperor, Blood Devil, and Holy Beast Azure Dragon of the Heavenly Monster Tribe, as well as Fu Wei of the Potion and Tool Pavilion, looked like they knew that the end of the world was near. They turned into jets of light, moving away to prepare. Yin tried to control, not letting his energy vanish as he talked to Hero and Montesi. "Give us some time." "All right." Hero and Montesi nodded. "You should know your limit. We can't linger here. If Desolate has recovered fully, you're not his match in this desolate territory. Hui and Devour are here too. If they can't realize this situation earlier, they will face big troubles as well." "I know." After it killed all the creatures in the ancient god star area, it will come for Audrey and me. We're the key. Shi Yin felt a flame burning his heart. Watch the Grace mainland for me. I have to leave and prepare. I owe somebody and have to bring them with me. Sure. Hiro and Montesi understood how dangerous the situation was, so they didn't ask and just agreed immediately. Shi Yan's body flashed, disappearing into the void of the Grace mainland. In just a blink of an eye, he had moved thousands of miles. Fortunately, the agate star area had merged with many other star areas. With the origin of the Grace mainland, Shi Yin could create the connection with the other stars in this star area to teleport immediately. He reappeared in the fantasy mist star area, landing on a life star. It was the water cloud star under the drifting fires management. The Shang family was cultivating in a massive city. Shang Yingyu was trying to comprehend her power inside a snow chamber. Shi Yin appeared there all of a sudden. Who's there? Shang Yingyu opened her eyes, carrying a murderous aura. However, she turned thrilled instantly, screaming ear-piercingly, Shi Yin, come here, all of you. Shi Yan's soul consciousness covered every corner of the city. Shang Qiu, Enlia, Shang Chun, and Shusha had received his message. They immediately gathered in the secret chamber. Shi Yin, where have you been? Kid, why are you here? What happened? Shi Yin wore a heavy face. I don't have time to explain much. I'm here to take you away. I give you 15 minutes to prep. Then, I will take you out of here. I repeat, you have 15 minutes to bring your relatives here. All the experts in this star area will be killed shortly. If you want to live, you have to listen to me. He looked at Shang Yingyu deep in her eyes and then disappeared. Everybody of the Shang family was petrified. Shang Qiu and Enlia didn't get a clue. They thought that Shi Yin was crazy. Shang Chun was bewildered for a while and then yelled resolutely, why are you still idle? He gave us only 15 minutes. You think you got plenty of time? Move quick. Gather all the people you want to take with you. Hey. Enlia was perplexed. Shut up. Shang Chun bellowed. Move, quickly. He's the master of the bloodthirsty force now. His life magnetic field is much more powerful than Ming Hao. Do you think he would come here just to prank you at his realm and new position? Enlia was frightened. Shusha, her mother, also knew that the doomsday was coming. She hurried as if she had her brows on fire. Do as he said. Shi Yan's next stop was the fiery rain star area. Yushan was teaching Xin Fei Fire Power Upanishad inside a massive volcano with running lava. She had set up layers of barriers that normal people couldn't break. Boop, boop, boop. Yushan knew her barriers were torn. As she was still baffled, she saw a shadow landing. It was Shi Yin. All creatures in this star area will be obliterated soon. If you want to live, leave with me. Now. Shi Yin didn't talk any nonsense. As soon as he arrived, he told them his purpose right away. Yushan and Xin Fei were dumbstruck, looking at him blankly. After a while, Yushan nodded solemnly. We always work alone. We can leave at any minute. And just like that, they left the place with Shi Yin. With soul control power Upanishad, Shi Yin could make thousands of soul clones visit the Gu God sect in the hollow fearsome star area, the Wu family in the prosaic star area, and the Xiao family in the serious star area. At the same time, De Carlos, Ming Hao, Xin He, and Frederick were gathering all the ones they could at their maximum speed. The warriors in the agate star area like Fu Wei, Blood Devil, Gu Tei, and Bath also took action. The teleportation formations on the Grace mainland were working at their max capacity, bringing many warriors to the land. The scattered experts everywhere, the ones who had good connections with Shi Yin, had been gathered. Chapter 1496, The Ark. Chapter 1496, The Ark. Many warriors at high realms in the ancient god star area were crouching on the ground. They faced the deep sky while shaking uncontrollably. It was due to the vibe that came from deep inside their souls. Those with a soul altar felt extremely aghast, with a deep despair originating from the soul. They watched the sky and the ancient god continent that was disappearing, and many life stars exploding. Finally, They knew something very terrible was taking place in this star area. Although heaven and earth energy on many life stars was drained, the ordinary human beings weren't affected. They were safe and sound, even though the most terrifying doomsday was coming. So many life stars that were higher than level 3 had many warriors gathering to absorb the heaven and earth energy. However, at this moment, those warriors were all dying. Many soul altars had cracks that they couldn't heal or stop. They fragmented, scattering everywhere. Many souls were erased in the ancient God Star area. The massive ancient continent moved above the ancient God Star area like a horror phantom that cast its shadow all over the star areas. Wherever it passed, the soul altars of the experts exploded. A massive ancient tree grew on the ancient continent that could shade the entire ancient continent. Ghost Hunter was standing on the tree, his eyes gray and cold. He didn't have any human emotions on his face. The fierce soul magnetic field shot out of him. He was the reason why the others' soul altars were shattered. He was harvesting lives of the powerful experts. He would make this star area his exclusive world. It would change and transform into his sharp weapon. He drove the ancient continent, moving to a dead star while his cold eyes were gazing at it. He raised his hands to tear the space. Crack, crack. The icy dead star was cut into pieces as if some metal blades had minced it. For shadows stormed out, releasing the strongest powers they had while risking their lives to attack the other. They were the 4 heavenly kings. The 4 heavenly kings were returning to the ancient god continent after their failed mission of killing the God Lord. However, they couldn't pierce through the space to return to Hui. They had tried every method they could to leave the ancient God Star area. Unfortunately, the ancient God Star area was closed. After fusing Desolate and the ancient demon continent, Ghost Hunter was slowly recovering. Before he took action, he had sealed the ancient God Star area. If even Hui or Devour came here, they shouldn't dream about getting in. This was his world. Here, he was the only rule maker, the soul god. The 4 heavenly kings couldn't escape. They had to hide with the hope of ducking this culpa. However, in Desolate territory, they looked funny trying to hide, because no one could. Ghost Hunter arrived, and they finally admitted that it was the doomsday today. They couldn't duck, so they had to risk their lives. You were born because of me, and you will die because of me. It's your fate that was decided when you were born. Ghost Hunter's eyes were cold while glaring at the 4 heavenly kings. Halfway, their bodies withered strangely as though they were big balloons that got deflated. They were dried up shortly. The light in their eyes dimmed. Before they could reach Ghost Hunter, their soul altars had been shattered already. The 4 streams of pure energy scattered, and the towering ancient tree on the ancient continent became lush. Ghost Hunter stood on the big tree, driving the ancient continent around the ancient God Star area to find the spots where the experts were gathered and continuing to bring them a catastrophe. Ancient Demon Star area. Ziyao's graceful body emitted billions of rays, making her the goddess of auspicious clouds. She used the 5 colored rays to tie the Power Upanishad symbol tower. The rough, big tentacles reached out of the dark abyss. The absolute beginning creature Devour was grunting and roaring, vying for the Power Upanishad symbol tower with Ziyao. As Ziyao didn't order them, Tianxie and the others didn't attack the devouring clan warriors. When she had prepared to let her real body attack Devour, her face changed. It was also the moment the 4 heavenly kings were slaughtered. Different from Charlant and the others, Ziyao had left a powerful seal in the souls of the 4 heavenly kings. As they were all at the 3rd sky of Immortal realm, Ziyao had to pay a big price to make them obey. Thus, when Charlant and the others were massacred in the ancient Godstar area, Ziyao didn't feel anything. But it was different in case of the 4 heavenly kings. When their souls vanished, Ziyao felt it immediately. She frowned, using the absolute beginning language to talk to the dark abyss. Something's wrong. The tentacles from the dark abyss ceased as it seemed to know that Ziyao wouldn't cheat, waiting for her to talk more. Ziyao stood still, knitting her brows. She released her soul consciousness to tear the space and enter the ancient God Star area to check the situation. But she suddenly found that the space barrier of the ancient god's star area was now 10 times tougher. Since she couldn't tear the space barrier, it meant that she couldn't enter the star area. She understood instantly. Except for the master of the star area, no one could strengthen the space barrier to that level. No one. It has awakened. Xiao looked fearful for the first time as she screamed immediately. It has awakened. It has started to merge the clones. By now, she suddenly realized that Shi Yan's side had left all of a sudden. Combining the two stories, she knew that things had gone wrong. The warrior with the ancient god continent's origin is dead. It must have gotten the ancient god continent now. The one with the ancient demon continent's origin is missing. Surely he was eaten as well. You meant that it has fused with two clones already? Devour screamed from the dark abyss. Certainly. Xiao took a deep breath, her face stern. You and I had joined hands, and we couldn't defeat it. We're all hurt now, and it's its territory. So, Devour came here for the Power Upanishad symbol tower only. Listening to Xiao, he said resolutely, we shouldn't let it take the Power Upanishad symbol tower at any cost. Swish. The Power Upanishad symbol tower turned into a beam of dark light, falling into the dark abyss. Xiao didn't stop it. We must leave this territory. Fighting here, we won't have a chance to win, said Xiao. We should go. Devour didn't linger. He announced to his clansmen through the soul message. Then the devouring clan experts jumped into the dark abyss one after another. The dark abyss that had existed in desolate territory for so many years now shrank and disappeared eventually. Xiao was bewildered. She cursed in absolute beginning language, then tore the space, running to the chaotic space basin with Tianxia and her supporters. The chaotic space basin outside desolate territory was where she used to live. Even if she had to fight desolate here, she could move freely. Shortly, all the members of the devouring clan, Tianxia, and Xiao's subordinates had disappeared from the ancient demon star area, which regained its quietness. Shortly after, the massive ancient continent appeared right where Xiao and Devour had just disappeared. Ghost Hunter stood on the life ancient tree on the ancient continent. He squinted, his face icy cold as he knew that he was late. His archenemies had discovered the strange commotion and left already. Well, I haven't fused completely. Otherwise, they wouldn't have escaped, he mumbled, his eyes gazing at another continent, the God-blessed continent. Desolate had gotten 2 of the continents, which had strengthened him a lot. Now, only the God-blessed mainland and the Grace mainland were left. He eyed the former, closing his eyes to sense for a while. That little girl isn't here. If I don't kill her to get her soul, I can't fuse with the body. Then, he decided to go to the Grace mainland star area first. Grace mainland. The teleportation formation in different areas on the Grace mainland flashed constantly, transporting many warriors to this continent. Shi Yan had created many clones, using the space power Upanishad to move through many planets to gather his friends. Shang Yingyu, Shang Qin, Wu Feng, Wu Bai, Sha Zhao, Xiao Mu, and the others had gathered on the Grace mainland. Fu Wei, Blood Devil, Feng Han, Ling Xing, Xian He, Frederick, Ming Hao, and De Carlos had used all methods they got to bring their friends to Grace mainland as well. They were insecure and worried, as they knew the apocalypse was coming. What happened, after all? Is it true? Wu Feng and the Wu family was gathered on a corner of the Grace mainland. They were still skeptical about what Shi Yan had told them. If you don't believe him, you can decide to not come. It's not compulsory anyway. Shang Yingyu said. She also didn't buy it. She didn't think that this immense universe would come to an end like Shi Yan had said. However, when she got here, she found many familiar faces, as well as the strikingly powerful experts. She gradually understood that the situation was really serious. If this world will be destroyed, how can Shi Yan protect us? Enlia had a blurry layer in her eyes, asking Shang Chun. Sha Zhao, Xiao Mu, and the others also turned toward Shang Qin, waiting for an answer. In this moment, they all felt their bodies and spirits sinking. They wanted to clutch on a buoy. They hoped that someone would show them a brighter future. This is the Grace mainland. Yin has fused completely with the origin of this continent. He's trying his best to bring us here from miles away. He has his plan to do that. Although Shang Chen cultivated the fate power Upanishad, he couldn't foresee his own fate or the movement principle of this world. It was like a massive shadow was covering everything, such that no one could see the future. Precursor Hero and Montesi, please help me protect this continent from the chaotic currents in the space basin. Yin appeared in the voice, crying loudly. Hero, Montesi, Gay, and many experts nodded at him, waiting solemnly. Star floats. Starlight bloomed from Yin's body like the waterfall. Instantly, all the stars in the sky seemed to resonate with him, twinkling brightly like diamonds. People then found that the Grace mainland was moving really quickly. They also found that the void out there had so many bands of outer space streamers and energy storms, which were frighteningly dazzling. They screamed in fright when the entire continent tore the sky and jumped into the chaotic space basin, moving forward rapidly. Chapter 1497. Wipe out the entire world. Chapter 1497. Wipe out the entire world. A massive planet suddenly appeared in the Grace mainland star area. Ghost Hunter looked enraged. It was the first time he felt so insecure. The Grace mainland could escape from desolate territory. His soul moved, and the entire star area emerged in his mind, showing him the population of warriors on different stars and even their realms. He was the sole god of this territory. They got the girl too. His face turned colder as he couldn't detect Audrey's aura. He didn't hurry to go to the chaotic space basin. He knew Hui was there. He knew that his power hadn't recovered fully. If he got in there, he wouldn't get anything. So, he decided to merge his territory. Under the stimulation of his will, spirit, and soul, the three interstar areas, Grace Mainland, Ancient Demon, and Ancient God Star Area, slowly merged with each other. The impenetrable space barriers between the three star areas became supple like water, then slowly disappeared. Without the space barriers, the star areas merged easily and quickly. Ghost Hunter then used his supernatural power to recover desolate territory's original appearance. From inside the massive ancient continent, life energy fluctuated. The continents moved, changing the layout of the entire star area. Ghost Hunter was Desolate's appearance as he began to move around the new star area. The experts Yin, and Ming Hao didn't bring with him were killed the same way. The energy from them had become the purest energy in desolate territory. Ming Hao and He had asked some of them to leave, but they didn't believe them and decided to stay. Many people didn't want to leave their wealth or their grandchildren. Many others thought that they could avoid this slaughter. They hid in the strange forbidden area between the star areas to avoid this culpa. However, they couldn't do anything as they all disappeared amidst Ghost Hunter's massacre. Deep in their souls was Desolate's seal, which had rooted since they were born. There was no way to clear it. With that mark, Ghost Hunter could easily subdue and kill them. If they were at the territory ancestor realm, they could resist for a while. Anyway, such an invincible existence like Bloodthirsty couldn't avoid his destiny. After he had reached the territory ancestor realm, he was still obliterated. At that time, Desolate hadn't fused with 3 clones. It just used the hands of the God Clan and the other experts to destroy Bloodthirsty. But now, he had taken action himself. So, no one could escape. The 3 continents were now one, becoming the real Desolate territory. None of the warriors with the soul altars in this territory could escape Ghost Hunter's genocide. Due to their deaths, the earth and heaven energy in Desolate territory became thicker magically, and more marvelous life stars were created. The life ancient tree on the ancient continent became more vibrant and towering. The life magnetic field became almost viscous. Chaotic space basin. It was a strange place where no life star had ever existed. A massive planet flew quickly, crossing the place. That planet had layers of gold, silver, and orange-red halos that covered it entirely. The cold flood of outer space, colliding asteroids, and strong blasts of winds were wreaking havoc everywhere, hitting that planet. However, Under the protection of those massive light cages, explosions happened continually like the most brilliant fireworks outside the planet. However, it couldn't affect the space inside by even a bit. Millions of warriors were gathered on the planet. Most of them had high realms, but they had never had a chance to visit the chaotic space basin. At this moment, looking at the strange and terrifying scenes around them with energy attacking their planet, they were petrified. They had finally recognized that they had finally left their familiar surroundings, leaving for a strange place. Most of them believed in Shi Yin and what he had told him, but some still held on to their belief that their sky wouldn't face the apocalypse like he had mentioned. The sky above the Immortal Island, in between so many clusters of clouds, Shi Yin, Montesi, Hero, and the other experts sat on the clouds, their power surging. Light columns raised alarming smoke that reached the sky. As soon as those light columns connected the light cages around the planet, they strengthened their protection, preventing them from the dangers in outer space. Next to them, Audrey was unconscious. Ming Hao and Adele were watching her, in case something happened to her. Ming Hong's little figure appeared on Audrey's shoulder, his face aghast. He was so weak. After his soul form came out, he swayed as if he was affected badly. Ming Hao and Adele hurried to send him energy and protect his soul. Then, Ming Hao asked him what had happened. He was Audrey's soul slave, so he had a soul connection with her, which enabled him to know about her condition. As he had finally gotten out, he should have something to say. Ming Hong turned to Shi Yin, admiring him. It's lucky that we have him. If he hadn't taken action resolutely to move the Grace mainland, we would have all been killed. It was the first thing Ming Hong said. Shi Yin was connected to the Grace mainland, protecting it from the dangers in the chaotic space basin. He didn't hear Ming Hong appraising him. What had happened? Adele asked hurriedly. After we left desolate territory, I could escape that nightmare and get out of Audrey's head. Ming Hong pulled a stern face. In her nightmare, I saw the things that happened in desolate territory. It was a world-destroying calamity. As long as the warriors had soul altars, they couldn't escape death. The space barriers between the Grace mainland star area, the ancient God star area, and the ancient demon star area are gone. The three star areas have merged into one, turning into the original appearance of desolate territory. Desolate was divided into 5 parts, and because of different parts, many smaller star areas had appeared. However, they are all gone. Now, we have only one desolate territory. Xin He, Ming Hao, Adele, and DeCarlo stood around them. Listening to Ming Hong, they all had a pale face. They finally believed in Shi Yin. He was right, and his resolution had saved everybody. They weren't killed in desolate territory. Without Shi Yin, they would have been ignorant till their deaths. They wouldn't have known the terrifying things waiting for them, and would have been like the ones who were killed. They would have ended their lives in fear and despair. Ming Hao, Xin He, and Frederick looked at Shi Yin, feeling sincere respect from the bottom of their hearts for him. They had finally believed in him. Oh! All of a sudden, they heard someone groaning inside the 2 coffins by the little skeleton, who jumped in excitement. They woke up. My parents have finally woken up. Chapter 1498, Foresight. Chapter 1498, Foresight. The 2 precursors of the White Bone clan had slept for 10,000 years. At this moment, people could see lights glowing in their skulls as they were about to wake up. Hero and Gay were in midair, helping Shi Yin create and maintain the light protection while they were moving in the chaotic space basin. When they heard the little skeleton cheer happily, they became astonished and joyful as well. Among the 7 great clans, the White Bone clan was famous for their solidarity. However, their reproduction was a problem. That's why they had never had a civil war. For the welfare of the race, the White Bone clan members could sacrifice themselves without a thought. To wake up their precursors, Hero and Gay had crossed thousands of miles to desolate territory. It was an excellent example of their unity. Is it okay now? Hero turned to Montesi. Can I go down first? Montesi's little face had a thin layer of sweat. She gave him a slight, gentle nod, her eyes looking tired. Hero immediately landed on the continent, approaching the little skeleton and eyeing the two precursors with a bright look. As he was watching, the two precursors of the White Bone clan murmured something as if they were sleep-talking. Then, they slowly opened their eyes. However, they still looked low-spirited and weak. It would be hard for them to recover shortly. They all looked at the little skeleton, their eyes showing their deep love and affection. Father, mother. The little skeleton was so happy that he burst in tears. My son, it's our biggest luck to see you now. We can't believe we can see you again. The female skeleton raised her shining bone hand to fondle the little skeleton's smooth forehead. She was talking in the archaic language of the White Bone clan. In the sky, Shiyan's body gushed out starlight, which strengthened layers of light protection outside the Grace mainland. After a while, he stopped, nodding to Montesi. It's laborious for you. You're welcome. Montesi smiled gently. We're family. Don't be too polite. She threw a glance to Meiji, who was shy and blushing. Shiyan descended, only to see the little skeleton talk to his parents, and Hiro, Gay, and the other members of the White Bone clan greet their precursors. He nodded inwardly, then landed by Xianhe, Frederick, and Ming Hao, sending his soul message. After 1 hour, the warriors cultivating the 8 power Upanishads like Yang Tian Emperor, Blood Devil, Leona, Ka Tuo, and Fei Lan gathered. They were skeptical when they saw Shiyan, because they didn't know why he had called for them. I killed Pu Tai in the ancient demon star area, and obtained his power Upanishads, soul, and spirit. After I had absorbed him, I've reached the 3rd sky of Immortal realm. Then, Hiro and Montesi joined hands to fight Devour, also giving me a lot of pure energy. It's really enormous. Shiyan spoke calmly, his eyes bright like diamonds as he gazed at the others. Xianhe, Fei Lan, and the others were shaken with excitement. As they were used to it, they knew what would happen next. They didn't need Shiyan to talk more, immediately sitting down cross-legged and surrounding him. This amount of energy was extremely enormous. I will need time to digest and refine it. You guys should be ready. Shiyan checked his body, his face earnest. Many of the warriors whom Devour had killed instantly had a profound realm, most of them being at the incipient god realm. Their energy was enough for Shiyan to accumulate his god power to the upper limits of the 3rd sky of Immortal realm. Moreover, he still had a huge amount of extra energy he couldn't digest in his body, which would benefit the bloodthirsty force a lot. Shiyan sat down, closing his eyes to digest the energy in his soul altar and acupuncture points. Adele looked fearful, while Gillette and the other hotshots of the Imperial Dark Tribe looked pensive. Audrey seemed to sink deep in a terrible nightmare. She was still unconscious, and her condition was getting worse. Is it true that we don't have a solution? Adele stroked her daughter's hair, her face worried. Your soul has fused with hers. Can you wake her up? Minghong looked bitter. At this moment, he was pocket-sized, standing on Audrey's shoulder. He shook his head. I don't know why I can't see what's going on in her dream. I know her condition must relate to Desolate. As Desolate's getting stronger, she will become weaker and weaker. She could die eventually. The warriors of the Imperial Dark Tribe wore a desperate look when they heard him say so. How could it be? Adele shook her head continually as she couldn't believe it. Shiyan also has the origin. Why wasn't he affected? I can see that he's all right. It's hard to believe, yeah. Minghong was also suspicious, looking at Shiyan from a distance. At this moment, Shiyan was refining the energy he had absorbed to give to the ones surrounding him. Xianhe, Ming Hao, Frederick, and the warriors cultivating the 8 evil power Upanishads were sitting there, waiting for the chance that arrived once in a blue moon. Shiyan didn't look like he was affected by Desolate's recovery at all. It was unbelievable. Minghong and Adele thought that Shiyan wasn't different from Audrey in nature. They were both the ones who had fused with the origin. Why was Audrey unconscious while nothing had happened to Shiyan? It was too inexplicable. Perhaps, after he's done with taking in energy, he will give us an answer. Minghong pondered, and then said begrudgingly. In another corner of the chaotic space basin drifted a brown-red asteroid, with Huey's real body under it. The 12 snakeheads were like a massive, ferocious beast that was supporting the asteroid. The asteroid was moving in the turbulent space current. Ziyao, Tianxie, and the others, her servants, were riding this asteroid. Ziyao watched a space slit that slowly materialized in a distance. She was smiling, but her eyes were icy. It's good that we left timely. Otherwise, it would be a lot of trouble. At this moment, I'm afraid that no creature can live in desolate territory anymore. To recover, he has begun to butcher the energy containers he has fed for a long time. Tianxie respectfully stood by Ziyao. He was baffled when he heard that. Goddess Mother, you mean he's massacring in desolate territory? Yeah, all the warriors who had cultivated to the point they developed soul altars are dead. Ziyao nodded while smiling. He has fed them for so many years to have fat piggies for this moment. He used the deaths of the creatures in his territory to recover his energy. From the day he was separated, he has been waiting for this day to come. Tianxie understood clearly. He was frightened, but he didn't dare to ask more. It couldn't recover fully, or else it would have come to the sea domain of nihility. Oh, I've underestimated that Yin. Ziyao smiled. She looked at a direction while mumbling, "You little devil, you brought the Grace mainland here. Seems like we have to meet up again." The snakes under the massive asteroid wiggled, bringing the asteroid toward the Grace mainland in this turbulent space basin. Yin opened his eyes. He calmly stood up, looking around. Xian He, Ming Hao, Frederick, and the others were meditating to comprehend their power and refine the energy Yin had bestowed them. He faced the sky to check the light protection that covered this planet, protecting it from the terrifying impacts in this basin. It would ensure no creature on this continent got hurt. After he had digested the energy in the black hole and the acupuncture points, he had reached the peak of Immortal realm. The life energy in his body was brimming. He believed that if he had to fight against the territory ancestor realm experts, he wouldn't fall into a disadvantage. Eating up Pu Tai, he had gained great benefits. The 8 power Upanishads Pu Tai had cultivated for years were now his. It was extremely magical. Even though he could devour more warriors, he couldn't make their power Upanishads his powers. But Pu Tai was special. Pu Tai had cultivated devouring power Upanishad as well. The 8 evil power Upanishads had a mysterious connection. After Yin had swallowed them, they had become his glory. Today, he had reached the peak of the Immortal realm, and he already had the dark energy. He felt that he would enter the territory ancestor realm soon. His soul observed inwardly. His incipient extent was like a deep and vast universe in the ancient time where stars were twinkling dazzlingly. Except for having creatures, this incipient extent wasn't much different from many territories. He frowned, thinking about which way to go and where to relocate the Grace mainland. At this moment, Adele came to him with a glum face, asking, "Please come and see Audrey." Yin walked to Audrey, whose eyes were closed and breathing was weak. It seemed that her vitality was being taken away. She appeared as though her soul flame would be extinguished soon. Ming Hong, Gillette, De Carlos, and Azure Dragon were gathering by Audrey, their hands tied. They had tried many methods to wake Audrey, but none of them worked. Audrey was still dormant. It is harming her. The stronger it is, the weaker Audrey becomes. Despite the distance, it can still affect Audrey. As it's getting more intimidating, Audrey will be drained to death. Ming Hong looked at Yin, his eyes strange. You also have the origin. Audrey's condition is dangerous, but why are you still safe and sound? Everybody was bewildered because of this. Looking at Audrey, Yin's eyes sparkled. He knew the difference between them. Audrey was born in desolate territory. At birth, her soul had its seal. It could use the seal in her soul to affect her origin. Finally, Yin knew why Bloodthirsty had to ask Xian Shan, Lao Luo, and Xian He to bring a soul from another world and give it the inheritance. Bloodthirsty had foreseen things. In his time, he knew what would happen in the current time. Yin wasn't affected due to Desolate's increasing strength because he didn't have its soul seal in his soul. He wasn't a soul born in desolate territory. Chapter 1499. Walk on the Road of Fusion. Chapter 1499. Walk on the Road of Fusion. On the icy stone bed, Audrey's eyelashes shivered, her face twisting in agony. It seemed that she was being tortured in her dream. Adele felt terrible. She clutched Audrey's hand, muttering to her, "It's all right. Everything will be fine. I will think about a solution to wake you up." "It's getting worse." Ming Hung pulled a solemn face, turning to Shi Yin. "Desolate strength is increasing, to the point that even I can feel it. Audrey's condition is getting worse. If you don't have any solution, her flames of soul will extinguish shortly." Ming Hong's eyes became gloomy. He understood clearly that when Audrey was gone, being her sole slave, he wouldn't exist anymore either. Adele, Gillette, and the others were so flustered and restless. They wanted to find a way to wake Audrey up as fast as possible. Azure Dragon frowned while mumbling, "Once Audrey's gone, Desolate will naturally get the origin she is fused with. It will get 3 clones at the time, and you will be its next target." He turned to Shi Yin. "Let me try." Shi Yin sighed, urging his life power Upanishad. He wanted to use the life energy to shroud Audrey's soul. An ivory stream flooded Audrey, giving a tonic to her soul altar. However, in just a blink of an eye, Shi Yin knew that it couldn't work. It was Audrey's soul that was affected. The weakened soul wasn't something his life power Upanishad could recover. Hence, his method wasn't suitable. If Audrey's body were hurt, he could use vitality to heal her. The 2 precursors of the White Bone clan had been dormant because their vitality was too low, which affected their souls. However, Audrey's situation was different. Her life energy still fluctuated vigorously. It was her soul altar, especially the host soul, that had a problem. For the time being, Shi Yin didn't have any way to solve this situation. When Hero and Montesi saw him awake, they walked toward him together. The 2 precursors of the White Bone clan walked with them. Although they hadn't recovered fully, their mobility wasn't affected. The little skeleton took them to see Shi Yin. The 2 precursors of the White Bone clan had used the etiquette specialized to treat a noble person to greet and thank Shi Yin for helping them. "Thanks for your help," Dracula said sincerely. He was the little skeleton's father. At the second sky of Territory Ancestor Realm, he was as strong as Hero. Unfortunately, he would need a long time to fully recover. "You're welcome. I can see that you have a problem." Dracula had a white bone body that seemed like a crystal. Inside his crystal bones, Shi Yin could see many starlight dots twinkling, which was really mesmerizing. His eyes were like emerald gemstones. They were clear and serene, making people comforted on looking at them. He came and stooped to check Audrey. The energy from her origin is being taken by an absolute beginning creature. Everybody turned to this old man of the White Bone clan, waiting in hope. Shi Yin was moved. "You've lived for a really long time. You must have a wide knowledge. Do you know how to save her? Her soul has a part of the absolute beginning creature's origin. As it's getting stronger, it can absorb her origin's energy through the seal in her soul." Dracula said straightforwardly, "I can tell you that when the absolute beginning creature starts to merge its divided parts, there will eventually be only one thing left. It happens this way. If she's strong enough, she can swallow the consciousness of the clone, or the clone will swallow her soul if she's weak. Nothing can change this. It's the absolute beginning creature's nature." Adele was almost desperate, talking in agony. "You mean either my daughter's strong enough to swallow Desolate, or Desolate will eat her and fuse with her? There's no other option?" "No other option." Dracula's eyes were calm. "The origin she has fused would vanish with her soul altogether. If nothing unexpected happens, she will perish and vanish from this world." The members of the Imperial Dark Tribe had their eyes dark and their faces stiff when they heard that. "Of course, if you just want to keep her life, there's a method," Dracula added. "What method?" Shi Yin and Adele shouted at the same time. "With her current condition, it's the worst situation. We can't change her fate of being fused with Desolate." Dracula suddenly turned to Shi Yin. "But don't forget that you're one of Desolate. You can also swallow her. If you want and she cooperates, you can take the origin and spare her soul." "Me?" Shi Yin was stunned. It's the only way. Ming Hong walked to him. This precursor is right. As things have come to this, Audrey has to give up her origin to live. Her origin will be taken by Shi Yin or Desolate. If Desolate gets it, her soul will be buried together. But if Shi Yin gets it, she will lose only her origin. Her realm, soul, and body won't be affected much. He turned to Dracula, asking him to verify. Dracula nodded. It's true. If she and Shi Yin cooperate, she will lose only her origin, a part of Desolate's consciousness. She won't lose herself. In other words, she will just discard something that doesn't belong to her. She'll still be herself. Let's do this, Ming Hong hissed, asking resolutely, Shi Yin, do it now. Take Audrey's origin. You will get 2/5 of Desolate soul parts. As Desolate isn't complete, it can't rule the Desolate territory fully. We will have a chance. What chance? Adele and the others were puzzled. One day, Shi Yin will be strong enough to reach the territory ancestor realm. At that time, he can resist or even refine Desolate. Ming Hong pulled a dark and cold face. Only Shi Yin can do that, and only he will have a chance to counterattack. After all, he isn't bound to Desolate territory's rules. Not many people knew that Shi Yin was a soul from another universe. However, being the soul control chief, Ming Hong knew it a long time ago. Finally, Ming Hong knew the true reason why Bloodthirsty had to labor to guide a soul from another universe. Turned out that Bloodthirsty had prepared well for today. Bloodthirsty had failed that year because he was created by Desolate. He was a soul born in Desolate territory. It was the cause of his tragic consequence. To not let his heir walk on the same failed path, he had ordered Xian Shan, Xian He, and Lao Luo to find a soul from another world. Brother, are you sure? Adele still hesitated. If you want to see Audrey die, you can wait. If you miss this only chance, not only will Audrey die, but Desolate will receive one more origin. No one can estimate how strong it will be. At that time, Shi Yin will have not even the slightest chance. Ming Hong snorted. Listening to him, many warriors from Desolate territory couldn't sit still. They had finally recognized the horrible truth and began to urge Shi Yin to take action. You do it. Please, promise me that Audrey's soul will be safe. Adele said helplessly. She was the current matriarch of the Imperial Dark Tribe and also Audrey's mother. If she agreed, no one would oppose this. How to ensure that her soul will be safe and her realm won't be affected after I take her origin? Shi Yin bit his lips. He didn't hesitate anymore, turning to Dracula. I don't know how. You need to use your soul to intrude her soul altar and contact her host soul. Let her host soul cooperate with you to extract the origin. Once you guys have extracted the origin, you have to take it before Desolate does that. You have to be very careful, reminded Dracula. Shi Yin was nervous as he pondered for a while. Audrey was getting worse. Her soul was about to perish. As people were urging, he gazed at Audrey. Swoosh! A group of souls created by flames flew out of his pupils. Just like a lively and agile spirit, it intruded Audrey's soul from the corner of her eye. Audrey's soul altar floated above her sea of consciousness. Her tier of power Upanishad was like hell in the underworld. So many ghosts and brutal souls were gathered in the center of her sea of consciousness and power Upanishad. As they saw Shi Yan's co-soul, they were like mosquitoes that had smelled blood. They became savage, trying to come forward and tear Shi Yan's co-soul apart. Stop! Ming Hong's yelling echoed around Audrey's sea of consciousness. The brutal souls and departed ghosts behaved as they were scolded. Ming Hong was the most powerful brutal soul here. He had connected with Audrey and helped her rule those sinister souls. He was the leader of the brutal souls. Under his intimidation, no soul dared to attack Shi Yin. Thus, Shi Yin could continue to move forward. He had passed millions of evil souls to get to the tier of power Upanishads. Audrey's incipient extent was above the tier of power Upanishads. It was a gloomy, cold, and gray world that he couldn't see through. Vaguely, a massive cauldron was moving in her incipient extent. Many absolute beginning symbols were glowing. It was the refining soul cauldron that had fused with Audrey's soul. As Shi Yan's soul had appeared by the incipient extent, the soul-refining cauldron released waves of threatening energy. That attacking energy aimed at Shi Yan. Then, billions of symbols flashed, turning into the ancient devil gods covering the entire sky and swarming toward Shi Yan. It was the instinct of the absolute beginning divine weapon to protect its master. Shi Yan in his soul form felt overwhelmed when so many evil gods flocked toward him. He changed his power, and many burning flames were conjured. Those flames seemed to have a life as they became flame spirits attacking those evil gods. At that moment, Shi Yan sent a soul message that was like a jet of light crossing through the dark world. "I am Shi Yan." He spoke to Audrey. Swoosh. He got a response from a place pretty far away, but it wasn't from Audrey. It was from the Power Upanishad symbol tower. Shi Yan was bewildered. Chapter 1500. Thing returns to its rightful owner. Chapter 1500. Thing returns to its rightful owner. A massive, black cave was spinning somewhere in the sea domain of nihility where the devouring clan gathered. In the thick darkness, an imposing, majestic Power Upanishad symbol tower hovered. The absolute beginning symbols on the tower were sparkling with many colors. Wisps of pure dark energy crawled on the tower to clear the soul seal Hui had left there. Devour had released its evil, cold soul consciousness to refine and erase the seal Hui had left. All of a sudden, a sincere call came from a place far away. As the enormous tower had just got rid of Hui's soul seal, it was attracted by the call. Without waiting for Devour to react, it accelerated instantly and flew away. In the blink of an eye, it had moved billions of miles. Tearing layers of space, Devour had escaped from desolate territory. He had to consume a lot of energy, and erasing Hui's soul seal on the Power Upanishad symbol tower took a big part of his energy too. Devour had just ceased to breathe when the tower had already flown away. At this moment, Devour's power hadn't recovered yet, and he didn't have the power to hold it back. He could only see the Power Upanishad symbol tower pierce through layers of space and disappear. Devour, the giant black octopus, howled to call his clansmen of the devouring clan. Shortly, the two territory ancestors, Edgar and Labit, arrived. Edgar hovered by the dark abyss, asking respectfully, "Ancestor, why are you enraged?" The Power Upanishad symbol tower escaped my control, flying to desolate territory. Devour's voice arose in the dark abyss. "If it's not Hui, it's the new master of the tower." He had contacted the tower, but Hui's soul seal had stopped him. As soon as I erased Hui's seal, I don't know why it's so coincidental that the kid called it. "Damn it." "Where's he?" asked Edgar. "The void outside desolate territory. Let me figure out the way to go there. Get that kid before Hui. Otherwise, you won't get the Power Upanishad symbol tower. The Power Upanishad symbol tower is crucial. We must get it." "Yes, sir." The Power Upanishad symbol tower had pierced through layers of space, crossing billions of miles in just a blink of an eye as if it could tear space. It had turned into a jet of starlight, flashing and then disappearing. Many warriors had seen it, feeling their souls shaken. They immediately understood that some treasure would be near them, but when they pulled themselves together to check, they got nothing. The Power Upanishad symbol tower flew all the way, breaking spaces. Shortly, it pierced into the chaotic space basin outside desolate territory. Ziyao sat on a high, seven-colored throne on a massive asteroid. Her eyes were deep as if they could see through the whole world. She released her soul consciousness to find Shi Yan in the turbulent space current. Sizzle. A jet of starlight zoomed over. The light flashed and then disappeared, but it could still make her soul shiver. She opened her eyes, shooting an amazing light as she was surprised. The Power Upanishad symbol tower. She screamed. She was stunned at first, but she got a hold of herself shortly after. Immediately, she used her soul to check the direction of that jet of light. Then, her true body moved, turning this asteroid into a shooting star. The shooting star moved rapidly toward the Power Upanishad symbol tower, also heading to Shi Yan's location. Grace Mainland. Adele, Ming Hao, and Xian he gathered behind the immortal realm. They were observing Shi Yin and Audrey, their faces dark and grieved. Shi Yin had escaped the soul altar, entering Audrey's head. They were waiting with hope to see her situation getting better. Unfortunately, she was still unconscious, her breath weakening. Shi Yan's body frowned as if he was facing a big trouble. It made their hearts sink further as they became tenser. Dracula, Hero, and Gay of the Whitebone clan, Montesi and Meiji of the Phantom clan were gathered, watching Shi Yin send his soul to swallow her origin. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. All of a sudden, a fierce wave of energy came from a far area in this space basin, swarming the Grace Mainland. Hero and Montesi changed their countenances. They sensed for a while and found it was so intimidating that it could threaten the Grace Mainland. Shi Yin had asked the two of them to protect the Grace Mainland. As they had agreed with him, they must ensure that the Grace Mainland would be all right. Seeing that fierce energy attack, Hero was stern. "I'm going there to check." Hero turned into a gold arrow, shooting out of the barrier. As soon as he came to the chaotic basin, his eyes brightened, almost choking on his own breath. Power Upanishad Symbol Tower. Seeing the strange situation, he pondered, then sent a message to Montesi. "Retrieve the light barriers." The Power Upanishad Symbol Tower just came back. On the Grace Mainland, Montesi was thrilled. She didn't think much, seizing the time to control her Power Upanishad in cooperation with Hero. They lifted layers of barriers on the Grace Mainland. Boom! The Power Upanishad Symbol Tower turned into a jet of starlight. As soon as it came near the Grace Mainland, it transformed back into a giant tower. Slowly, the colossal tower landed through layers of clouds in the sky, aiming at Shi Yan's head. It was so strange that the tower halted above Shi Yan's head, as if it was hesitant. What's happened?" Dracula of the Whitebone clan asked. He hesitated for a while before he could get it. The Power Upanishad Symbol Tower has fused with Shi Yan's co-soul, and now his co-soul is in Audrey's head, which makes his aura different. Hearing him, the crowd of warriors was frightened. They all looked skeptical. The thing that had fused with the Power Upanishad Symbol Tower was actually Shi Yan's soul, and now his co-soul had gone to Audrey's head. As his aura on his body was changed, the Power Upanishad Symbol Tower was confused about whether it should go to Shi Yan's body or Audrey's head. The onlookers held their breath, watching the Power Upanishad Symbol Tower. Swoosh! The Power Upanishad Symbol Tower changed into the cluster of light, heading toward Audrey, intruding her soul altar. The people around couldn't help but scream in panic on seeing this. On Audrey's soul altar, Shi Yan's soul was like a dark shadow, hovering in front of Audrey's incipient extent and calling her host soul, which was floating above the incipient extent. Audrey hadn't answered Shi Yin, but the Power Upanishad Symbol Tower had come first. It seemed to run toward him. While Shi Yin was still bewildered, the terrifying energy fluctuations of the soul refining cauldron came from the dark area in Audrey's incipient extent. Right after that, countless soul vines slithered like snakes, reaching toward him and trying to pull his soul into the soul refining cauldron. The soul refining cauldron was a divine weapon in soul class, and it had fused with Audrey's origin. As Shi Yin intruded this area, the soul refining cauldron had instinctively considered him an enemy. Without Audrey's control, the soul refining cauldron began to attack Shi Yin. It was almost unavoidable. It was him who courted death as he dared to use his soul to attack another expert in her soul altar, who even had the soul of an absolute beginning creature. At the moment, the terrifying aura of the soul refining cauldron was slowly reaching toward him. Shi Yin was frightened. He continually sent messages to Audrey, but she hadn't answered yet. Seeing the dangerous situation, he didn't dare to linger and decided to retreat. However, at this moment, a powerful light that could tear the dim-lit world in this place came dazzlingly. The massive Power Upanishad Symbol Tower suddenly came from the world outside, becoming the armor that could protect everything, shrouding his soul immediately. The soul refining cauldron couldn't pierce through this thick protection, so it couldn't attack Shi Yan's soul. Yin suddenly had a feeling of blood connecting. It was like he had finally and officially fused with the Power Upanishad symbol tower at this moment. Previously, his fusion wasn't complete because the Power Upanishad symbol tower still had Huey's soul seal, which was like a contaminant. Before he could clean that contaminant, he couldn't fuse with it fully. Today, that soul seal was cleared by Devour. Yin had lost the Power Upanishad symbol tower for a short time. Unexpectedly, it was his luck amidst a misfortune. Devour had cleaned the tower for him, and today, he had finally fused with the Power Upanishad symbol tower. With his soul and aura, no one could easily snatch the Power Upanishad symbol tower from him. Unless he was gone and his soul seal vanished from this world, no one could dream to take the Power Upanishad symbol tower from his hands. Yin suddenly understood many things. As the Power Upanishad symbol tower was protecting him, he wasn't afraid of the soul refining cauldron anymore. He focused on calling Audrey. I am Yin. I am Yin. It's me. He called her continually, trying to contact Audrey to receive her help. After an unknown time, the soul refining cauldron stopped attacking him. As Yin was still perplexed, Audrey had finally answered him. Yin, my condition isn't really good. It's getting stronger. It can use the origin to block my soul. It's consuming me. I can't hold on for a long time. Audrey's messages were interrupted. She was being weakened faster. I'm here to help you. But to do that, I may harm you. I need you to cooperate with me. Let me take your origin. Otherwise, your soul will be consumed until you die. Yin didn't dare to linger, trying to explain the situation briefly. It's the only method. The origins are gathered and fused. Your soul has its soul seal. It can use that seal to find you through the origin to kill you. Can you tell me why you aren't affected? Audrey asked all of a sudden. My soul doesn't belong to desolate territory, Yin pondered and then answered. Audrey pondered for a while, then said, Okay, I'll cooperate with you. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.